Can you win a game when no one has ever explained the rules? The apocalypse destroyed the world people once knew, leaving behind nothing but fear, uncertainty, and endless trials. Here, every mistake could be your last, and every decision has the power to change your fate, because sometimes it's not the strongest who survive, but the ones who make the right move before everyone else. Ruined homes, covered in sand, stood frozen in the desert under the scorching sun. It happened a long time ago. Lying on the ground among these ruins is a young man. His hair is light-colored, his clothes are torn in places, and he wears shackles on his hands. What kind of place is this? His rosy eyes gaze at the sky, his face covered in sweat. A notification pops up. Buddy, don't look at the sun, and don't say I didn't warn you. It's 60 degrees Celsius here, and the temperature rises by 0.2 degrees every minute. The young man looks straight ahead. He begins to sit up cautiously as the system continues to broadcast. Oh my, is someone frying meat? Ah yes, you're almost done. I suggest adding some spices. It will make you even tastier. It's visible that his sweater on his back is charred and his skin looks slightly burnt. The system notes this. Look at that, a crust forming on your back. Hey, can you hear me? But the young man stares into the distance, asking himself only one question. How did I get here? Thoughts swirl in his head as he surveys the ruins of what was once a great city. Transportation through time. The system doesn't stop talking. Oh dear, can't you think about everything at once? Too much data for analysis. Why don't you save up some money and buy me a new processor and graphics card? His gaze is full of fatigue. He looks at the building, but the system only mocks him. Aha, this is a public toilet that's over 700 years old. It's rare to find a place with a danger rating of 3.5 stars. And although the toilets haven't worked in a long time, medium mutated fallen creatures are always happy to have guests. Near the toilet, a projection of a creature appears. Information? Medium-level mutated fallen creature. This makes him ponder. Medium-level mutation. Fallen. Danger rating. Is someone really hiding in this toilet? The city is completely empty. The system admires the ruins. Ooh, I love that road. For 100 kilometers, not a drop of water, you'll collapse from dehydration halfway through. An updated version of the famous trisomy, and you have no right to refuse. A predatory bird sits on someone's skull. And over there is a jackpot. 2 fallen creatures are hiding just 1,600 meters from us. You can try using the legendary pickup line. They'll be delighted with the unexpected lunch. The young man continues to examine the sand-covered ruins. So, I receive information about everything my gaze falls upon? Something like a blessing for time travelers? He looks around. Since these paths are too dangerous, there remains only... His gaze stops in another direction. The system signals, Bingo, that's right, there's water over there. As they say, if there is only one short answer among 3 options, choose it. The young man looks at his hands in shackles from which hot steam literally emanates. The system doesn't calm down. Hey, hey, hey! Will you finally pay attention to me? He rises to his feet again. The system explains the situation. Here's the deal. 5 girls are injured and can no longer use traditional skills. He examines his shackles with a screen and strange symbols. What? Shackles, have I become a criminal in this life? Even the system begins to reason about them. But this thing looks weird. At first glance, ordinary shackles. But people have long stopped believing that, because the aristocrats of the 4th floor turned them into a means of monitoring slaves. Tch, but it's better not even try to remove them. You need to find shelter now, or you'll simply burn under this sun. The young man walks along the road. Surveillance, nobility. It seems I've gotten myself into a very strange world. Moreover, the situation is critical. A person can last an hour at 71 degrees Celsius and only 49 minutes at 82 degrees. I have very little time left. I can only hope that there really is a water source on this road. On his white shirt is depicted a cross connected to a collar, but he raises his eyes to the sky. Surveillance. His gaze seems to try to discern something in the heights. His image is displayed on a large screen. People sit in comfortable chairs, watching him and talking. Hey, what's this mess? Why is he still alive? He's lasted more than 10 minutes already. A girl with light hair wearing a white mask protests, standing next to a man in the same mask. Did he really go through the blue door? Aren't the blue zones the hottest? Why does he look so energetic? A girl with pink hair and a pink dress, holding a pipe in her hand, silently observes what is happening while others argue. I want to see how the fallen creatures will devour people. Where are all the monsters? Her yellow eyes pierce the screen as the others continue to quarrel. Couldn't the host have stuffed a gifted person pretending to be a slave in here? At this time, on the screen, the young man continues to walk along the road. Tension rises in the hall. Damn it, he seems completely calm. He takes a step, 2,996, another step, 2,997, the tower. People live in the tower. It's dangerous outside of it and impossible to survive there. The young man closes his eyes. 2,998, think. He walks, but is mentally immersed in his thoughts. Fallen creatures. Monsters outside the tower. Nobility from the 4th floor. The tower has a clear hierarchy. The higher the level, the higher the status. 2,999. He continues to walk and reason. Shackles. They record how people survive in the outer world. So, this is a survival game of chance. His steps raise dust from the dry ground. Ha! Interesting. He continues on his way, surveying the rubble of buildings. 3,000 seconds, 50 minutes. The temperature seems to have risen to 70 degrees. I need to find at least some shade within 15 minutes, otherwise my efficiency will decrease significantly. Suddenly, his gaze stops. Ah? The system immediately notifies, oh yes, half of the honors for finding water should belong to the voiceover. What would you do without my instructions? He noticed a fire hydrant from which water is dripping. The rules of survival outside the tower are simply outrageous. They could have put more water points in such heat. He catches drops with his finger. Excellent. It works. It's 70 degrees here, and the water is ice cold. The young man continues on his way under the voice of the system. That means there's still water underground that hasn't had time to warm up. He keeps walking. In that case, I could go down into the sewer. The temperature should be lower there. And since there is a water supply, he tries to carefully examine each building. Wait, there must be an entrance nearby. Passing by another building, he notices something. At the turn, right on the ground, lies a distorted manhole cover. The system rejoices. Great, you found the favorite haven of rats and cockroaches. Now you don't have to roast under the scorching sun. With the toe of his boot, he kicks the lid aside, opening a descent into the underground. However, this is only a temporary measure. No matter how lucky I am, I won't last long in these conditions. Before him yawns a dark abyss. The system encourages, it seems our hero fully understands his situation. Just go ahead. The young man himself thinks, the only way to get out of this game is to find a way back to the tower. The system agrees, exactly. And what's funny about that? A faint smile plays on the young man's face. Since they are betting on me. The system didn't specify whether the shackles can transmit sound, and I don't know the local language. I will have to pretend to be a good boy in this new world. He raises his hands up. The system starts to panic. Hey, you're not going to... But the young man has already finished his thought. I want to show that I don't intend to play by their rules. The system is horrified. Nightmare! And the young man, with a smile on his face, demonstrates an obscene gesture with his shackled hands to the observers in the sky. Take that. This causes a storm of indignation among the viewers. What an arrogant slave. He's definitely not one of the gifted. A man in a black suit and mask angrily smashes a wine glass on the floor. It's just an actor. It's a cheap setup. I want him dead. Where are the fallen creatures? Let them leave nothing of him. The girl on the balcony watches with interest. Ha! That's even funny. I didn't think my bet could pay off. But this guy lasted surprisingly long. Ha ha ha. She clutches a phone in her hand from which a voice emanates. We guarantee his death. The goods, absolutely definitely from the beggars on the lower floor. He has absolutely no talent. Having listened, the woman coldly replies, I hope I don't need to explain what you have to do. A beautiful brick building. A hand in a snow-white glove returns the receiver to the phone's cradle. This is an old man in a black frock coat. He exhales heavily. Phew. He wipes sweat from his face and glasses with a handkerchief. His gray hair is neatly combed back. The target is in the blue zone. You must pretend to be fallen and eliminate the goods. The old man turns, giving instructions. Guests must not suspect anything. The interlocutor nods briefly. Understood. Then the man asks the next question. What level is your talent? Before him stands a knight in silver armor with gold trim and a blue cloak. 755, Steel General, accompanying force of 4th stage, 2nd level. The old man raises his index finger. Not bad, but the fallen in the blue zone are extremely dangerous. You'd better keep your emotions under strict control. The knight kneels on one knee. The old man takes out a sheet of paper leaning on the table. If these monsters sense even a shadow of negativity, they will attack immediately. Go to the transfer point. Here is the area number where the target is located. The old man's face darkens. Remember, even if you die, he must go to the grave with you. The knight rises and leaves, confirming the order. Understood. Past life. A group of guys pinned a young man against the wall, threatening harm. He sits on the ground, head lowered. Disgusting. Why didn't he even blink? Does he not feel pain at all? The one standing over him seems like a true demon. His frightening silhouette stands out clearly against a blood-red background. The boy raises an utterly empty gaze towards him. Demon. Just a heartless demon. For some reason, the young man is standing at a funeral. Before him are flowers and a condolence plaque for his father. People around whisper, glancing at him. Shh! His father died, and he hasn't shed a single tear. Is he even human? A dog has more feelings than him. He indifferently observes what is happening. Police department, special forces, Bai Wu. I am different from ordinary people. Bai Wu carries documents, passing by an open door from which the voices of colleagues can be heard. Did you hear? He solved the 10-year cold case of serial murders in just a week. That guy is masterful at tracking down criminals. He listens to their conversation silently. Well, only a freak can understand a freak. Ha 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 ha. Until that day, policemen surrounded him on the street, aiming their weapons. It was pouring rain. Drop your weapon, hands behind your head. But the man opposite also held a pistol and shouted at them, Get out of the way. A deafening shot rang out. The bullet reached him, hit him right in the chest. He lowered his eyes, looking at the sudden wound. By this time, the police had already subdued the criminal. Take him! And the young man was already lying on the ground. Rain washed over his face as a crimson streak flowed down his chin. He watched the commotion with his last strength. Splashing water. He washes his face. It's sewage water. He sits on the edge and stares at his reflection in the murky surface, and sees his former self, brown hair, green eyes, and that same indifferent face. But now there is a different face before him. Light hair, pink eyes, but still the same indifference in his gaze. The system bursts into laughter. Heh heh heh! The slave's face from the first floor of the tower deserves 9 points out of 10. The boy continues to look at his reflection in the water. The system even starts joking. Unfair. Totally unfair. I want to fight you. But he lazily gets up, not interested. Since you're running gambling games, control should be with you, right? The young man walks on, not taking his eyes off the water. The system replies, then I advise you just raise your hands and surrender. Save your life and don't disgrace yourself. Suddenly he notices someone around the corner. A guest is approaching. He needs to greet him as befits, but the system doesn't approve of the idea. Hey, are you trying to walk on the edge of a knife again? It's time to pack your bags and find another home. But the boy confidently walks towards the turn. I have a question. If I pretend to be scared, will it count? The system is confused. I'm just a little worried about why you're putting me in a corner. He freezes, right before the bend. A truly predatory smile spreads across his face. He's here. And indeed, footsteps of a knight who received the order to eliminate him can be heard around the corner. The system falls silent. Well then, let's see. The knight appears from around the corner, and the system immediately provides a report. Wow. Talent level 755. Steel General. Accompanying force of 4th stage, 2nd level. This guy's power? He seems to be among the elite, and his abilities are comparable to General Pan Feng. It's obvious he can easily snap your neck. The knight looks around but sees no one. The boy watches him. I don't think so. The knight continues walking, armor clinking rhythmically. Judging by the sound, I am 10 meters away from him. But the sewer is winding, and he won't be able to get close enough to finish me off easily. The young man hides, listening to the system's voice. It doesn't matter anyway. You're a corpse soon. Oh, a small reminder. This person is extremely distrustful and honors the traditions of ancient commanders. The knight flinches at the sound of the voice. Hello, friend. You finally came. He looks around for the source of the sound as the voice continues. And that's the speed of a man with 2nd level strength and Steel General talent? Are you living on Indian time? The man frantically searches for his opponent. You shouldn't be so surprised. The boy smiles contentedly. Are you curious about how I know your abilities? At these words, the knight freezes. Do you really think an ordinary slave from the lower floor could survive here for so long? The man clenches his fist, and a sharp blade extends from his armor, becoming an extension of his arm. Or do you actually believe this is just a simple assassination mission? Ha, how naive. The young man smirks at him. Oh, hold on. It's about to get really interesting in the gambling den. Now the knight is determined to find him, guided by his voice. Many crave my death, so the boss sent you to deal with me, but are you sure this isn't part of their own plan? The sewer is empty, but the voice echoes through it. A pathetic slave who should have perished within the tower walls not only survived, but also made a fool of everyone. Quite a show, don't you think? The knight is bewildered by these words. And meanwhile, the boss sent you, poor soul, to finish me off. Everyone's just waiting for you to tear me to pieces. His green eyes are wide open beneath the helmet's visor. But you know what? In the real scenario, finally the young man emerges before him, never taking his eyes off his opponent. He stands directly in front of the knight. You won't tear me apart. You will remain here forever. Pointing with a shackled finger upwards, he continues. And I will step over your corpse and continue to mock these aristocrats. By this time, the croupier will start a new game and the stakes will become even crazier. Somewhere in the darkness, small blue eyes open. The knight assumes a fighting stance. So, are you ready to accept my final gift? And the young man points to the creature above them. A strange substance covered with eyes. It opens its mouth filled with numerous sharp teeth and drops viscous saliva. The young man lowers his finger, indicating the knight. And the creature fiercely pounces on the enemy, gaping wide. It flashes past the youth like a living whip, and instantly clamps onto the knight's helmet. At this moment, he watches the proceedings with a satisfied expression. The knight, struck by the sudden attack, begs for mercy. Stop, halt, In the end, the creature drags the knight's body under the water. And the system praises him. Excellent, my big boy. The water turns crimson, and the young man merely sighs in disappointment. Oh well, the water was so clean here. He shifts his gaze from the surfacing monster to the knight's body. The system signals, hey, I wouldn't recommend thanking it personally. The water is stained crimson. At such a distance, you will attract that fallen one just by showing a drop of negative emotion. Besides, you wanted to send this guy to the afterlife yourself, but the youth's body slowly sinks into the scarlet water. Forget it, I am the embodiment of positivity. I cannot succumb to gloomy thoughts. He approaches the body, listening for prompts from the system. Never mind, his flesh hasn't cooled down yet. Search for something and your mood will immediately improve. He extracts a certain object from the fallen warrior's armor. The system instantly recognizes the find. Wow, Black Gold Legend. This is the return device you so desperately wanted. Just activate it, and you'll be wherever you wish. He takes the device in both hands, preparing to activate it. Only 4.5% of the area has been explored. There are 35 fallen ones remaining, and the fragments of the Doomsday Puzzle have not yet been found. My assessment? He was careless. But a novice will only survive if he completes the level. An indicator flashes on the shackles, and they unlock, falling into the dark water. I recommend leaving everything else and getting out of here as soon as possible. The satisfied young man activates the device, which begins to emit a golden glow. Area exploration. Doomsday Puzzle. Hopefully, the tower will be much more interesting. His eyes slowly close as particles of light envelop everything around him. He disappears from this world, dissolving into the fading golden brilliance. External Intelligence Corps, 7th Headquarters. A man in uniform with his hand behind his back reads a report. Name, Bai Wu. Age, approximately 18 to 19 years old. Male. 2 people listen to him. One is intently polishing a sword at a table while the other sits relaxed on a sofa. The speaker's face shows that he is very nervous, tightly pursing his lips. He glances at the man rubbing the blade, and that's all. The latter raises a stern, dissatisfied gaze at him. All? Before us is Captain Gu Xingyu of the 7th Division of the External Intelligence Corps, known as Uchu. Captain Liu Mu of the 13th Division laughs loudly. Ha ha ha! Uchu, the level of interrogation in your team has dropped sharply. Have they become so relaxed while you were away from the tower? The latter merely frowns. Please explain. The subordinate replies with a trembling, stammering voice. Captain, it's useless to intimidate or bribe him. He calmly points out the flaws in our interrogation methods. In the end, my people themselves felt like they were being interrogated. Liu Mu continues to laugh, looking at Uchu. Is such a thing possible? Who have you caught? Gu Xingyu picks up a small vial. What did he ask about? The reporting officer observes as the contents of the vial trickle down onto the sword. Well, it's quite strange. He was interested in how many floors are in the tower. asked how fallen ones appear, about accompanying power and talents, about things that even a 3-year-old knows. I don't know if he is pretending or truly so foolish. The latter wipes the blade with the cloth, listening attentively. Exactly. He also asked me for a talent chart. Lumu becomes increasingly amused. Ha ha ha, and this guy has a twist. The 13th Division just needs people. Why don't you give him to me? Uchu glares at his colleague again, checking the sharpness of the sword. Want to recruit him? Then you are definitely using a cannon to kill a mosquito. Liumu freezes, making a pointed remark. It seems this guy has caught your eye. Then the captain begins his story, approaching the window with a weapon in hand. 5 months ago, our team received information about usury. A merchant reported that a poor man who owed him a large sum had disappeared. Later, when I took on the case, it turned out there were many more missing persons. Liumu crosses his arms discontentedly, nibbling on a toothpick. Isn't dealing with internal affairs the concern of the suppression corps? Why did you get involved? He lowers his eyes, peering at his reflection in the steel. Why would these noble soldiers care about the fate of the lower classes? For them, masters are only those who live on the 3rd floor and above. I followed the trail and discovered a gambling den. Liumu inclines his head. A gambling den? Have nobles become so bored that they decided to hold Hunger Games? The latter nods. Precisely. The croupier in this establishment is from the 4th floor. They decided to send people into the Blue Zone. This news causes immediate outrage. The Blue Zone? They've completely lost their minds. He raises his hand, interrupting him. The White Zone no longer excites them. The extreme temperatures and deadly danger of the Blue Zone bring them far more pleasure. The reporting officer begins quickly searching for something on a tablet. Uchi approaches the table with the monitor. But their plans were disrupted by one person. A photo of Bai Wu appears on the screen. This survivor lasted almost 2 hours and didn't attract a single fallen. Moreover, a killer was sent after him, but in the end, that killer was defeated instead. He continues to look at the screen, standing with his back to Liu Mu. Then I received an anonymous call. A woman called, judging by her voice, very young. Liu Mu begins to speculate. If this is a nobleman's amusement, why isn't the suppression corps handling it? The 4th floor has never had warm feelings for our intelligence division. Uchi's gaze remains extremely serious. I couldn't understand that either. Her main goal was to bypass the croupier and save Bai Wu. This only fuels Liu Mu's excitement. So this survivor is Bai Wu. How interesting. He turns away, once again looking at the sword. You are a master of interrogation, aren't you? Why doesn't Captain of the 13th Division participate personally? With these words, the man gets up from the sofa. Ha 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 ha! I was just thinking that. Show me what this immortal is like. The captain of the 7th Corps summarizes, he is a perfect weapon, and sheathes his sword. He makes a note to himself. He needs to keep a particularly close eye on this guy. 700 years ago, the end of the world came. The planet is still engulfed in flames. The world has changed and become too harsh. Monsters began to appear everywhere, nicknamed Fallen. Humanity faced the threat of complete extinction. It was then that a gigantic tower rose before people. No one knows how it appeared or what it was built for, but only inside it could people live and hope for the future. After some time, people discovered within themselves a special power with which they could resist the Fallen, an accompanying force. A voice comes from the interrogation room. This so-called accompanying force significantly improves a person's physical condition, their speed, and other basic abilities. A pretty girl in glasses explains at a blackboard with diagrams. If you want to increase the level of your accompanying force, training alone won't be enough. You need to get outside the tower. The longer you stay outside, the higher your accompanying force becomes. Simply put, only outside the walls of the tower can you become truly powerful. On the screen is a shield and a sword. Not only people, but also objects outside the tower are capable of changing. Over time, they turn into what is called Jilin. Now a guy standing at the blackboard continues the explanation. If the accompanying force is the base, like strength and speed, then talent is a full-fledged superpower. According to current statistics, there are 1,024 types of talents. He snaps his fingers. The higher the rank of the talent, the rarer it is and the more devastating it is. Unfortunately, most people have this indicator between 1,000 and 700. Therefore, those with talents above the 500th rank are actively recruited into Army Corps. Such people become the main trump card of each unit. He extends his hand. An image of Gu Chengyu with a sword appears. Yes, Uchi is our best trump card. His greatest achievement is surviving alone for 24 days in the blue zone outside the tower. Even members of the Suppression Corps, who used to turn up their noses, asked him to join them. The man continues. By the way, it's worth mentioning. The Suppression Corps and the External Intelligence Corps are structures approved by the ruling layer on the 5th floor. He moves a glass of water closer. Here, have this. And continues. The Suppression Corps consists of children of aristocrats who always look down on us civilians. And since it is much more dangerous outside the tower, the Intelligence Corps is often called the Refugee Corps. Baiwus drinks from the glass and clarifies, so that's how it is. This world encourages those who venture beyond the tower. But the man immediately points out, hey, what are you talking about? The survival rate outside is so low that most people would prefer to stay inside the tower. Listening to this, Baiwu muses aloud, accompanying force, Jilin, talent, all of this can only be obtained by leaving the tower. The longer you stay outside, the higher your stats, and the effectiveness of items increases. If Uchi survived 24 days in a row, then his strength... The girl excitedly interrupts him. Yes, it has reached an incredible 8th level. As soon as he meets a fallen, he instantly destroys it. Footage of Uchi's triumphant victory over a monster flashes on the screen. At that moment, the cabinet door swings open and Liu Mu enters. You guys! The employees are surprised. Oh, Captain, what are you doing here? The captain ushers them out of the room, pointing to the door. You guys go get a drink. I have some talking to do with this young man. Baiwu, with a glass in his hand, carefully looks at the captain. His subordinates leave, waving goodbye. Then we won't disturb you. And Liu Mu is already moving a chair for himself. Okay, let's begin. Straight to business, kid. He sits on the chair backwards, folding his arms on the backrest. But the guy interrupts him. I am ready to join you. This causes genuine astonishment from the captain. Oh, he is clearly confused by such a quick decision. How? And the guy continues, looking at Liu Mu. But I won't go into your team. I want to stay here. After all, I am already well acquainted with 2 people from this squad. The captain tries to object. Hold on. How do you know that we... But he is interrupted again, being offered a glass of water in which his confused face is reflected. The very fact of the interrogation means that you know nothing about me. You didn't get rid of me, so you and the one who Saun threw me out of the tower aren't working together. He speaks without unnecessary emotion. If I am not an enemy, then after the interrogation and all my antics, the External Intelligence Course will surely want to recruit me. But judging by Yunshu's reaction, she was very surprised by your appearance. He remembers how he entered. Hi, and how surprised the girl was. Captain? Beiwu continues. So, your arrival is out of the ordinary. Judging by everything, you are not the captain of their unit. Besides, if I'm not mistaken, your shield is broken. Jilin can also be damaged. It seems that the fallen you fought were stronger than those I encountered. Liu Mu shows interest. How did you know I used a shield? He was looking at his hand. You have a scar 3 centimeters below your wrist. Liu Mu clarifies, just from this scar? Bai Wu easily answers, since you are the captain of an intelligence corps unit, the level of accompanying force cannot be low, which means that the ability to recover will also be high. Leaving such a scar on your arm inside the tower would be difficult and unnecessary. Ordinary people have their wrists raised, but yours is sunken. The point of application of force when using a shield is the wrist joint. Therefore, people who use a shield for a long time experience this deformation. Lu Mu looks at his wrist, listening to the guy. And there are also scratches on the shield indicating that it was damaged. Damage to Jilin isn't something ordinary fallen can do. The puzzled captain thinks over what he's hearing, looking at the young man. Wait, So, why did I even come here? Baiwu looks at his wrist, and also, he peers intently. When I raised my hand to protect my face, I was hit by claws exactly 3 centimeters below my wrist. The captain clenches his fist with satisfaction, not taking his eyes off him. Damn, he's a real talent. We need to find a way to lure him into our unit. Baiwu points to a sheet of paper in front of him. By the way, in the talent table that was given to me, there are only those below the 700th rank. I need the complete one. He pointed with his index finger at the captain. If you help me get her, perhaps I will be able to... But the captain before him was already gone. He was already rushing down the corridor, pushing past passers-by. The captain? His goal was only one. Talent, talent, talent. I must bring him this chart. The captain threw a stack of papers in front of him, pressing them with his palm. He was clearly out of breath from running back and forth. Huff, you seem to know little about the tower. The reply came immediately. I lost my memory. The captain wiped sweat from his chin, looking at his interlocutor with bewilderment. Lost your memory? Huff, judging by what you said earlier, that's unlikely. Huff, you could come up with a more convincing excuse. Beiwu began to flip through the papers brought to him. That's right, so you better believe it. To avoid consequences, the kidnappers may have used some means to forcibly erase my memory. Hearing this, the captain sat down on a chair, crossed his arms over his chest, and put one leg over the other. All right. First of all, I'll tell you that on all 3 lower floors, the highest talent belongs to Wu Jiu. He remembered him and his abilities. Talent number 256, Limitless Shadow. It has been a long time since anyone with a higher level was born. What about the top 100? Have any such people appeared? Liu Mu propped his head on his hand, looking thoughtfully to the side. Well, look, talent number 76, Absolute Dissolution. They say that more than 20 years ago, one miner awakened this power. A finger froze on the line with number 76. This is not just a lottery win, it's a real ticket to heaven. An eye appeared from behind the papers of Bai Wu. I think the guy had a hard time. In response, the captain pointed upwards, hinting at the upper levels of the tower. Well, he just disappeared. We assumed that he was taken by some organization from the upper floors. Maybe from the 5th, where the government sits, or the 6th. However, the case was hushed up. The young man did not take his eyes off the documents. Instead, they tried to erase any information about him. He looked at the talent under number 24. Talent 24, Eye of Preya. By focusing your gaze, you can get information about the character corresponding to the hidden side of your personality. Additional, unknown. This made him think. The Eye of Preya. Talent number 24. Quite a high rank. Good news. It must be related to obtaining important data. I just arrived in this world and still know too little about it. He pursed his lips, reasoning with himself, but what about the hidden side of my personality? Is it worth so little? Bringing his fingers to his lips, he peered at the data. Why does this body have such high indicators? Has it already been outside the tower? However, my magical power is weak, which means that the body has never been outside before. It seems to hold many secrets. Finally he spoke, flipping through a page. By the way, can someone force a talent measurement? The captain shook his head. No, all talents are individual. For example, in the reconnaissance corps, the abilities of many people are hidden and do not manifest themselves in any way. Baiwu continued to study. Oh, that's good news. Finally, he put the papers on the table. One more question. Can a person have only one talent? The man smirked, making a tube with his hand. You can only awaken one. But on the 6th floor they say that you can get additional powers by killing particularly powerful fallen ones. However, these creatures... His gaze became heavy and serious. Even if such monsters exist, it is better to never meet them. Baiwu nodded, folding his hands in front of his face. True. But he continued to think to himself. The Eye of Preya is not suitable for battles. Even if I awaken a talent, it may turn out to be useless in combat. I need to find a way to get out of the tower and acquire another ability. The captain got up, clearing his throat, and he approached the guy. Brother, I got the chart for you. A silly smile spread across his face, and blush appeared on his cheeks. How about our deal? That one poked him with papers right in the chest, and looked at him with a smile. Sorry, brother. You are a good man, but I choose the 7th Division. The captain was immediately indignant. What? Why? Baiwu headed for the exit. During 3 hours of interrogation, I found out that the 7th Division most often goes outside the tower among all 24. The captain tried to stop him. Isn't this a very good reason not to go there? Moreover, he followed him to the door. If you want to get out of the tower, I will transfer you to the advanced detachment of the 13th Division, and if you don't want to risk it, go to the interrogation department. Just ask. The young man turned around. Brother, aren't you married yet? The captain's face contorted with bitterness. You know that too. Holding the door, he decided to give the man some advice. Remember, you need to choose the one who likes you initially. Don't waste your time in vain. You lost because you were late. The 7th Division made the first impression on me, so they are closer to me. And also, the captain clutching papers in his hands looked completely crushed. Also, Baiwu left, smiling at the end. Number 13 is unlucky, leaving the captain utterly devastated. A shout of, "What?" echoed from behind the door as two employees waved goodbye to the guy. A huge elevator came into motion. Baiwu. The elevator smoothly slides down. Baiwu is accompanied by two employees and Uchiju. Judging by the fingerprints, the guy didn't even have an ID before. Uchiju speaks without turning around. Now that you've been assigned to our division, you are officially considered a citizen of the lower floor. Baiwu listens silently, carefully watching his interlocutor. We have already selected housing for you in the southwest sector. Of course, you will have to pay 400 taws per month rent yourself. He stares intently at the captain. As Baiwu studies him, a voice from the system sounds again in his head. You understand that in games they often slip a strong NPC at the very beginning. This shorty with the height of a meter with the cap seems to be one of those, but finally he turns to him. Yes, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Gu Qingyu. You can call me Captain Gu. The system immediately issues a warning. He hides something that would interest even the inhabitants of the 6th floor. However, Baiwu calmly addresses him by nickname, shocking those around him. Okay, Uchiju. The captain raises his eyebrows in confusion. Huh? After which he immediately begins to glare at his subordinates, clearly suspecting them of leaking this information. Baiwu raises a finger, attracting attention. I have a request. If you are not planning to leave the tower, then assign me to the interrogation group. The captain looks at him with obvious displeasure. There's been too much work lately. The man confidently interrupts him. I want to go outside tomorrow already. The staff fall into stunned silence again. What? The captain turns away, pondering what he's heard. We tested your potential. Since you were in the blue zone, it took you less than 2 hours to rise from the 1st level to the 3rd. He points a finger upwards. But with such strength, even if you encounter the weakest fallen, but he is once again rudely interrupted. If you want to remind me of the danger and forbid going out, there's no need for that. Just allow me to go accompanied by an experienced partner. I won't be a burden. The young man's face expresses absolute confidence. I'm not looking for death, and I don't think you want me to stay in the tower either. He pauses, staring intently into the captain's eyes. Right? The captain, though displeased, relents nonetheless. All right. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I will lead a group of 4 people plus you, a total squad of 6. We are going to the white zone. Baiwu asks another question. By the way, what is in the blue zone? Those around him are shocked again. He really doesn't know. Finally, the elevator doors open. We've arrived. This is where you will live. Before them stretches a huge metropolis bathed in the light of advertising screens. This is the area under the 1st floor of the tower, the Jianlu port. Baiwu stands silently leaning against the wall as a young worker descends towards him. Baiwu, sorry to have kept you waiting. Captain Wu went to take care of formalities. First, we'll take you to your new home and also take a walk around. Your belongings have already been delivered. He takes something out of his bag. But we did grab some clothes anyway. Here, put this on. If you see anything you like along the way, we'll buy it. Wuju allocated you some money. It's in the bag. The young man throws a jacket over his shoulders, and so they walk down the street together. The man carries the bag on the left. This street leads straight to Jianlu Port, where you can get anything. A girl with glasses walks on the right. Just don't trust the merchants who will try to sell you Jilin. At that moment, a huge screen booms with an advertisement. Jilin for 17 hours. Everyone understands what it means to spend so much time outside the tower, and also buy this shovel. It possesses divine power. The system's voice is dripping with sarcasm. Wow, I wonder how much they paid for such an ad. The man in a cap demonstrates the tool on the screen. Just imagine, one swing, and you've gathered as much as others won't collect in a month. If I hadn't served in the reconnaissance corps, I would never have parted with it, and now I can only sell it to some lucky guy. The system is literally bursting with laughter. What nonsense! Is the reconnaissance corps now trading junk? They should have put a girl on camera. This actor can't even act. Don't watch. Please, don't look at this disgrace. The young man on the screen smiles radiantly and shows a thumbs up. Only 998 tans, and you won't regret it. Buy now and get a 300 tan discount. The girl in glasses is furious. What audacity! We don't have such people in our corps. Why are there still those who pretend to be us? She waves her hands indignantly. We can't allow him to tarnish the name of our corps. Let's go. We will report it to the captain, and he will deal with him. Her partner tries to reason with her. Yunshu, he wants to stop her. Calm down. We still need... But Bai Wu interrupts him. Go with her. The man hesitates. But how? But he immediately gives a weighty argument that, judging by his face, the man agrees with. You can't let her do whatever she wants, right? He hands him the bag and hurries after Yunshu. Bai Wu, then get there yourself. The money is in the bag. Goodbye. Bai Wu, with the bag over his shoulder, looks around curiously. Uh-huh. He stops in front of a huge sign. The system teases, Oh, did you find something worthwhile? Half an hour later, a shadow flickers on the door of one of the apartments. Opening it, Bai Wu enters a modest room where some furniture is already set up. On the case lies a note. Inside is a basic reconnaissance corps equipment kit. Study carefully. Guqing Yu. He takes the case, glancing at the text. The system immediately starts chattering. Oh my, how considerate Wu Ju is. A memo? Let's see. Rookies are given watches to track negative emotions when going outside. If the stress level reaches 75%, an alarm goes off. Bai Wu carefully examines the contents of the case and the instructions. All course members must adhere to the rule. As soon as the alarm sounds, immediately use the teleportation disc. Well, a fairly reliable mechanism for survival outside the tower. He puts the watch on his wrist. After all, sometimes people don't even understand what emotional state they are in, and this mechanism will save them from unnecessary problems. But for you, this little thing is completely useless. Ha 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 ha! The screen on the watch lights up with numbers, but don't be upset. There's still something in the box that will definitely interest you. He touches 3 syringes in the case with his fingers. Tranquilizer, suppressing any emotions. Bai Wu takes one of them, examining it carefully. It can be injected when you're near fallen or about to enter a dangerous zone. Muscles relax and you sink into a state of absolute calm for a short time. The effect lasts about 5 minutes, but be careful. After that, the piece is replaced by hyperreactivity, and all negative emotions are greatly amplified. An aesthete, a picture on the package. On one side of the syringe, a calm person on the other, an enraged one. Do not use unless absolutely necessary. Bai Wu clarifies with the system, like an emotional spring. First we compress it, and after 5 minutes we release it, and there's an explosion? The system confirms, correct, very curious, isn't it? He immediately injects himself in the neck, causing the system to instantly protest. He puts away the empty syringe. The system wonders, are you so eager to experience negative emotions? And freezes on the chair, staring at the floor. The system, resigned to his actions, only sighs. Oh, well, Doubting Thomas, I can only wish you luck. 5 minutes later, an empty syringe lies next to the case. The system's voice sounds with curiosity. Ha ha ha. Well, how do you feel? Or are you going to sleep? Bai Wu leans back in his chair, raises his hand and looks at it in the light. I don't feel anything. He watches as rays of light pass through his fingers. That's what should have happened. The next day, this is where the exit beyond the tower takes place. A place filled with various portals. The system explains. These steelies allow you to move through space. In fact, they are needed to restrain those guys at the top of the tower. Bai Wu wonders. Steelies? Guys on top? He pauses, looking around. The voice in his head agrees. Yes, let's stop there. Better not get involved in that. For our common good, just pretend you don't know anything. Someone approaches closer. They're here. It is Captain Gu with the rest of the squad. These are the rookies who will be scouting outside the tower today. Introduce yourselves. A large man immediately waves his hand. Hi! He introduces himself first. Brunette with dark hair, woven with pink braids. He has a massive build. My name is Wang Shi. Brother, do you have Jilin hidden in your bag? The system immediately gives a description. My God, this guy is really funny. As they say, if you're a muscle man, there's clearly something wrong with your head. Son of a rich family from the 3rd floor, he always craved adrenaline and danger, so he refused the calming corps and joined reconnaissance. Oh, and one more thing. Despite his macho appearance, he loves Barbie dolls. Ha ha ha. Bai Wu calmly replies, just little things. I plan to go outside and try my luck. Wang Shi is enthusiastic. Oh, first time. How did you think it all through? Behind them stands another man, thin, with long purple hair. Rookie, don't get in the way. I hope death doesn't find you today. Wang Shi hurries to introduce him. This is Lin Rui. He always grumbles like that. Get used to it. Lin folds his arms across his chest. We barely know each other, so if you die, I won't mourn. The system comments on him as well. Wow. He's from the second floor, looks prettier than any girl, sarcastic and loves crushing enemies. I like it. Hey, maybe try to tame him. Wang Shi simply embraces his comrade. I can only stick with strong people, not get in the way. And by the way, sister, you look great. This infuriates Lin. What did you blurt out, shrimp? Only a reply is heard. Brother, forget it, forget it. Someone timidly tugs at Bai Wu's clothing. It's a young man whose eyes are hidden behind long bangs. He is visibly embarrassed. Hello, my name is Shang Xiaoyi. The system voice sounds stern. Another oddball. At first glance, a mere pup, but in battle he is the most reckless of all. First impressions can be deceiving. This gnome will make anyone yield. Be careful with him. In response, Bai Wu smiles and extends his hand. Hello, I'm Bai Wu. But Shang is suddenly pushed away by a tall girl with blue hair. Ouch! And it is she who shakes the newcomer's hand. This is a pretty girl with green eyes named Yin Shu. The system clearly approves of her. My goodness, finally at least one girl, or I thought this place was full of monks. By the way, she's a vengeful spirit. Like the little guy, secrets are hidden within her that the sixth floor is very interested in. She's from the second floor and seems to be the most sensible in this group. Bai Wu thinks again. A secret from the residents of the sixth floor? It's not the first such person. Could it be a rare talent? He is about to respond to the girl, but she turns away. If we're talking about the group, aren't there supposed to be 6 of us? Is anyone else? Everyone freezes. Wang Shi spreads his hands. Shang Xiaoyi simply stands there. Lin Zhou whistles absent-mindedly. The captain, however, lowers his head dejectedly. He's already dead. Captain Gu places a hand on his shoulder. Better think about yourself. Bai Wu can't help but smile as he looks at the new companions. This group is full of villains. The captain turns around and gives the command. The advance squad should return. Prepare yourselves. We depart immediately. A loud announcement rings out. Team returning. Attention. Everyone prepare for departure. Stone pillars begin to glow. A man in uniform with a bag on his back emerges from the portal, confirming successful return of the preliminary reconnaissance team. He approaches the controller. Reconnaissance 103788 completed. Energy resources sufficient. No casualties detected. The controller makes a note. Good. Bai Wu carefully observes the process. So that's it. The world outside the tower is changeable, so scouts must study the area in advance. Only after confirming there are mines and few monsters do they send workers from the lower floors. The controller shouts, Next group! Captain Gu frowns at the shouting. Captain! They run up to him. Captain, please try your best. We wish you luck. He touches the surface of the portal. The passage flashes and begins to flicker. The captain's body also begins to glow. Forward. Everyone follows him. Follow me! Yin Shang turns to Bai Wu. Check the watch and tranquilizer again. But he is perfectly calm. Everything has been checked. The girl gives detailed instructions on their actions. This is a portal. As soon as they enter, the system will generate a number. It must be entered into the Zhugong grid to the side of the entrance, and the number will increase horizontally. Indeed, a panel with numbers is visible to the side. You go in first. Bai Wu isn't frightened at all. Okay, thank you. He touches the touch panel. A 7-digit number. In other words, have people explored millions of areas over the 700 years of the Tower era? His body begins to dissolve into the teleport. A bright flash. I eagerly await this journey beyond the tower. A brilliant flash. Lin Zhou slowly opens his eyes. Before them rises a huge abandoned building overgrown with thick grass. A fence and a gate made of barbed wire with spikes block the path. Lin reads the inscription on the gate. It's a psychiatric hospital? A voice sounds in his head. Ha! The 9th Psychiatric Hospital. It won't be easy to conduct research without getting inside. Bai Wu peers at the building, listening to the voice. But who knows what awaits them inside? How many negative emotions can accumulate among the mentally ill? This is a real breeding ground for evil, and the voice doesn't want him to go in there. But secrets are hidden within that are only subject to him. Well, good luck. The words of the voice intrigue him. A secret that only he can unravel. Could it be related to the fragments of the Doomsday Puzzle? Wang Shi just smiles. This hospital has a strange name. Don't you want to go in and take a look around? Shang Xiaoyi looks noticeably tense. There are many fallen ones there. I'm a little uneasy, but the voice notices the lie, reading data from his watch. Ha 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 ha. This guy is a true drama king. It's obvious he's completely calm. What an actor. The captain immediately checks the data on his watch. The temperature is normal, around 46 degrees. However, sudden changes cannot be ruled out. The voice sneers, 46 degrees? And you consider that normal? Hey, Bai Wu, they've all gone crazy here. Yin Shuang looks around, assessing the situation. There is no particular vegetation or minerals nearby. They must be somewhere near a city. Behind them is only an empty road and a wall of trees. Wang Shi enthusiastically punches his palm. In that case, let's go in and check it out. There's no other choice anyway. Places like these are usually found only in the blue zone. But Bai Wu warns the others, be careful, don't rush. Lin Zhozhou perceives this concern as an insult and begins to snap back. So timid. If you're afraid, you can go back. Don't drag us down and attract unwanted attention from the fallen. The captain interrupts this pointless argument. Okay, I'll go first. He reaches out to the gate under Lin's watchful gaze and slowly pushes open the flap, trying not to make unnecessary noise. Bai Wu looks around this place. The team moves forward, discussing as they go. 4 treatment buildings, each with 19 floors. It doesn't look like an ordinary hospital. Which building should we start with? Bai points with his thumb. I think we can only enter one. He had already quickly surveyed the buildings. With the exception of the first building, the lower floors of the other structures are completely blocked. There are simply no entrances. He notices an aerial walkway. If you want to get to the second building, you'll have to go up to the 19th floor and walk along a corridor in the air. Wang peers into the distance, shielding his eyes with his hand. Wow, that's true. Why make things so complicated? This is a hospital. Lin throws a barb. You aren't very helpful. Applying his palm to his chin. Bai reasons, yes, but if something contradicts common sense, there must be a reason. He adds to himself, perhaps the owner simply doesn't want anyone entering the second building. Shang clutches at his clothing, his voice trembling. See, Captain, there are 17 evil spirits in this building. I'm scared. The system's voice once again exposes the lie. He continues to play the comedy. In reality, he is desperately trying to suppress his excitement. How curious. But Captain Gu is extremely serious. Be on your guard. We're entering the first building. He opens the glass doors and the squad passes inside. Everywhere there is dirt, dried blood, and debris. Looking around, they conclude, it appears this hospital has been abandoned for a very long time. Lin makes an apt observation. It's a complete mess here. Everything has fallen into disrepair. Bosch runs his finger along the marks on the wall. This is blood. These traces are everywhere, and more importantly, they are woven into symbols and pentagrams. The bloodstains, dark red and thick, appear to be quite fresh. Mentally, he addresses the system. Do you see anything? The answer comes immediately. Huh? Am I crazy? How am I supposed to know the meaning of these signs? We're in a psychiatric hospital, and unlike the locals, I have all my senses. Scattered leaflets rustle underfoot. However, I can say that the blood was spilled here 2 days ago. He asks again, 2 days? Did someone try to hide it, or on the contrary, point the way? But the system's voice only mocks him. Figure it out yourself. I'm not a reference bureau. Wangsha turns to the commander. Captain, there are too many rooms here. Are we really going to search every single one? But the captain directs his gaze at Bai Wu. Bai Wu, what do you think? The young man rubs dried blood between his fingers. There are a lot of rooms indeed. If we check them all in order, we might find the information we need. But the main secret is hidden in the 4th building. Lin angrily presses him against the wall. Hey, newbie! What are you talking about? What main secret? The system's voice drips with amusement. It seems you touched a nerve. He definitely doesn't like you. Bai Wu sighs and puts his palm to his forehead. I'm only explaining this once. Just believe me next time. Lin is already about to yell again when Yin carefully observes Bai Wu. Ah, you are... But the captain doesn't let the argument begin. Bai Wu, continue. The system immediately comments. Oh, you know how to take control of the situation. Mentally constructing a plan, he begins his explanation. As I said at the beginning, there is only one entrance to 4 buildings. In his mind, he draws a diagram of the transitions. If a patient in the 4th building needs help, they will have to go up from the ground floor to the 19th floor, pass through the 3rd and 2nd buildings, reach the 1st, and only then descend to the desired level. By that time, any patient with any diagnosis would not only breathe their last but also choose a next body for reincarnation. Captain Gu thoughtfully touches his chin. The layout is indeed strange, but Bai Wu voices his guess. If we reason logically, this place looks more like a prison than a hospital. A prison? They ask him. Continuing his thought, Bai Wu spreads his index fingers apart. Only one entrance. Therefore, the prisoner has only one way to escape, which is easy to block, and since it's a prison, then the farthest, fourth building, Wang Shi snaps his fingers, is the most guarded and secret place in the entire sanatorium. Suddenly, Shang's trembling voice rings out. He points somewhere into the darkness. Kui, Captain, look. Before them, the elevator stops, its display flashing numbers. The cabin starts moving on its own. The captain instantly tenses up. Everyone, attention, prepare for battle. Unexpectedly, Shang breaks into a smile and casually smooths his bangs. Looks like we won't have to climb the stairs. And Bai Wu decides at that moment to ask a question. Captain, something has been bothering me for a long time. Outside the tower, no one has lived for 700 years. These cities and buildings should have crumbled into dust long ago. Why are some objects still intact? The elevator display changes floors. He answers slowly. It's hard to say. In places where we've been, sometimes living objects appear. For example, in an abandoned amusement park, the Ferris wheel can start spinning on its own. A hum of the approaching cabin is heard. The rules of the outer world, they are different. Not only space is distorted here. This makes Bai Wu think there are still too many unsolved mysteries. It seems that any inexplicable phenomenon here has become an immutable rule. The elevator stops on the first floor. The team is ready, expecting the worst. And only Shang looks enthusiastic. A heavy, oppressive silence hangs in the air. The elevator doors open, and a terrifying creature with long crimson claws and a huge eye appears from the darkness. The fallen emits guttural sounds. Judging by the rags, he was once a patient at this hospital. Ooh, shh. The creature rushes to attack, hissing. The captain commands, back! His hand rests on the hilt of his sword. He swiftly draws the blade into a combat stance. A single lightning-fast, precise strike instantly ends the monster's life. Bai Wu carefully watches every movement of the captain. He sees the defeated enemy fall at his feet. Looking at the bloodied steel, Bai Wu hears the system's voice. The fallen is defeated. Jilin level, 19. Upon contact with an enemy, he weakens their defense and increases the chance of a critical hit. Of course, effectiveness depends on the owner. In a battle with mid-level mutants, it all comes down to swordsmanship. The lifeless body collapses to the floor as the captain sheathes his weapon. Don't be afraid of second-level mutants. Let's go. Our path lies on the 19th floor. Bai Wu analyzes what he has seen. His weapon has been in the outer world for 19 days. I heard his personal record is 24 days. So, the blade became Jilin already on the 5th day. While Bai Wu is lost in thought, the others recover. Whew! Why do I feel so uneasy? Don't worry, this is Captain Gu. You won't be ruined with him. The young man bends over to the defeated monster and touches it. Lin impatiently urges him, Hey, what are you stuck there for? Hurry up. Bai Wu pulled the creature's head closer to its body. The skin was dry and cracked, and the mouth had deformed into something resembling a mosquito's proboscis. The limbs remained intact, though they had changed shape, becoming akin to claws. He continued examining the fallen one's clothing, while a voice in his head clarified the data. Yes, fallen of the second-level mutation, roughly speaking, still retain a distant resemblance to humans. Hey, why are you undressing it? Fallen beings certainly don't have human rights, but isn't that... What? The young man froze with a scrap of fabric in his hands. It seems... Even some useless items have undergone regression here. And then he pulled an ink-stained piece of paper from his pocket. Ha 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 ha. Bingo. You found something great. It was this very slip of paper he had taken. Was it a page from a diary? He read the contents. I'm not depressed. I just owe a lot of money. He said, if I came here, no one would find me. But he lied to me. He tricked me. Tricked. Every day I try to find a way down. The girl on the 11th floor is really pitiful. Will I end up like her? Will she be transferred to the second ward? I just want to leave. Bai Wu also examined the paper itself. There were tears and folds around the edges. The sick man had likely tried to hide the page in a hurry when his diary was taken away. And he looked at the date, July 5th, 2026. 2026. Currently, it is the 704th year of the Tower era. How much time has actually passed? The system only responded evasively. Chush, who knows? He continued to ponder, holding the paper in his hand. Many items in this world, like this page, hadn't been destroyed for 700 years. Is it related to the tower? Or is there some kind of special protection at work here? But his thoughts were interrupted by Lin's sharp cry. You dung beetle! Are you coming or not? Everyone is waiting for you. Bai Wu entered the elevator. I'm here, going to the 11th floor. The captain noticed his find. What did you find there? Then he showed the paper. Just a small piece and of writings. Meanwhile, Captain Gu instructed the squad. Prepare yourselves. The level of danger in subsequent buildings may exceed your expectations. His finger pressed the elevator button. On the 11th floor lurk stronger fallen beings, with whom one can spar and also search for useful information. Lin shouted again in indignation. Hey, why do you make all the decisions? This is just a white zone. Where could strong fallen even come from? Bai couldn't suppress his sarcasm. If you don't enter the hospital, there won't be any danger. But inside, little sister Lin, I advise you to be careful. That finally set him off. Bai Wu, you little... Just then, a creepy laugh echoed throughout the elevator. Heh heh! Zhang was invigorated and seemed delighted. Did you hear that? That sound... The captain simply notified them. Attention, we've arrived. And indeed, the elevator display showed the desired floor. Everyone exited to the eerie giggling, heh heh! Before them stretched an empty and dark corridor, barely illuminated by dim lamps on the ceiling. As the squad walked down the hallway, the laughter turned into a whisper. You've come to play with me. I'm here. Won't you look for me? I've been waiting for you for so long. They stopped at one of the doors. The sound came from the last room. Be careful, warned the captain, and the sounds continued. Bai Wu tried to understand who it could be. The sound resembled the crying of a little girl or even an adult woman. It seemed like two voices of different ages and moods were intertwined. Something began to drip from the ceiling. A black substance. And one drop fell on Yin Shuang's shoulder. Before their eyes, this substance transformed into a hand that reached for the girl. Ha! But the captain immediately shielded her from the attack. The monster shrieked, Wada! Gu was alert and ready to fight. Be careful and stay calm. Several dark hands reached down from the ceiling again. The system concluded, Oh, it looks like someone among you got emotional and attracted this girl's attention. A dark substance streamed over the entire team. The voice of the system even assessed the level of the fallen being. This monster's level isn't low at all. The captain won't be able to defeat it in one hit. Lin pulled out something like a whip, looking disgusted at these hands. His watch measured the state of affairs. Why are there so many disgusting hands? I don't want to play with these tentacles. Wang Shi's watch also activated as he clenched his fist. Stop talking nonsense. Let's destroy them quickly. Shang was very happy. Hooray! These toys are mine. Don't touch them. His watch was working too. Someone replied to him. No one was going to. Yin Shuang also drew her sword. Her watch displayed data on the condition of things, and the captain had already launched a lightning-fast attack on the fallen being. He began slashing at these hanging hands. Deflecting the attack, he glanced at his watch. Act quickly. There's no need to play with it. While Bai Wu just stood there, the system assessed the captain. Cool-o-oh. Your captain is so cool. If you were like that, crowds of beauties would be swarming around you. But he only yawned lazily. Ha! A dark substance began to gather near him. The voice assessed the situation. Looks like there's no chance. Bai Wu's watch didn't show any changes. I'm bored, I want to sleep. A dark hand rushed towards him in an attack. Lin skillfully cuts it off. Die! Wang also repels it, using his knuckles. There is simply no end to them. Shang slashes at them with a knife. Ha! It's mine! Lin intercepts the outgrowths with a whip. What's wrong with this guy? This newbie Bai Wu. The captain looks at the completely calm and yawning Bai Wu. Why isn't anyone attacking him? He just smiles sweetly, rubbing his eye with his hand. I want to sleep. I think the little girl's voice is affecting my mood. Shang can't contain his delight. His number is 0. That's a monster. Lin just snorts to himself. And you call someone else a monster. Bai Wu calmly walks forward, and the fallen being doesn't touch him. Well then, since you are busy, I will go scout ahead. However, the captain, continuing the fight, objects. Stop, Bai Wu. Stop, don't move, we'll deal with everything soon. Wait for us and we'll go together. The young man continues to look at the ceiling, from which a strange substance is flowing. Unfortunately, until your emotional state stabilizes, these tentacles will continue to attack. Therefore, he walks on, waving his hand to everyone. I'll go see if I can find the source. Just follow me when you calm down. The captain watches him walk away as Wang Shi continues to fight. Captain, where did you find this guy? He certainly isn't lacking courage. The tentacles continue their attack while the commander muses aloud. If his emotional fluctuations don't exceed single digits, he might actually be incredibly brave. He prepares his sword for another attack. But if it's 0, or something is wrong with the device, the captain skillfully cuts off another tentacle. Or he sees the figure of the newcomer receding through a haze of substance. Something is definitely wrong with him. Beiwu opens the door and steps inside. The interior is just as chaotic, scattered furniture and piles of paper. The system's voice rings out, "Wow, look at this." The young man turns his head. This dog kennel, Jilin, is perfectly suited for keeping someone imprisoned. A surveillance camera hangs in the corner of the room. No matter how you look at it, the poor girl never managed to get out of here. But the cage is open, at least not until they let her out. Ugh, ugh. It was created to be a prison, and it feels bad about that. Beiwu picks up a broken shackle ring in his hand. This chain is also Jilin. He lifts it and examines it. It's heavy for ordinary games, but if these are shackles... Hey. He kicks something with his foot, a syringe. Hey, be careful. The system warns, scattered needles may contain sedatives or other drugs. 1 injection will refresh the mind, 2 will strengthen the body, and 3 will rejuvenate. His gaze falls upon them. Numerous used syringes lie on the floor. Forget it. There's nothing more to see here. The documents are destroyed, and the owner is nowhere to be found. He looks at the door. Right now, you'd better pay attention to the table in front of you, which holds so many curious things. On the table before him lie a comb, a diary, and a key. This humble inheritance of our poor girl survived and fell into our hands. There is only one choice. Each item promises something different. A new talent, friendship with the poor girl, or her hatred. Oh, don't take it to heart. His hand reaches for the comb. Think carefully. If you choose one item, the other 2 will disappear. His gaze falls on the diary. I peeked inside. There are no dates, and each page is filled with the words benevolence, righteousness, and morality. Who even wrote this? This archive is full of secrets that you little guys so desperately want to know. But when the poor girl sees it, what will she grant you? Hatred, friendship, or talent? Decide for yourself. He turns his gaze to the key. This key doesn't open the cage. It unlocks a lock in another place, which may turn out to be either a shortcut or an abyss. Lost in thought, Baiwu brings his fingers to his lips. The archive contains things that might interest both me and Wu Ju. It must be connected to the past and help get closer to the truth. He stops at the table. The comb offers no clues, which is strange in itself, but the key clearly opens some door. Perhaps something important is hidden behind it. He scratches his head in doubt while the system laughs at him. Heh, can you believe it? Though I knew you were quite the collector. He sighs heavily. Yes, and looks at the ceiling. What nostalgia for a past life. He considers the decision again as the system continues. Heh. Friendly reminder. This is like a lottery. The first ticket, when you meet the fallen, you'll receive a new talent. The second, you'll earn their favor. In the last one, a noise comes from behind the door. Is the hatred of the fallen and pursuit to your death. His gaze becomes serious. Well, I guess it's natural for them to hate people. Meanwhile, the squad finished off the tentacles. That's done with. Everyone stared at the screens on their wrists. My indicator dropped. Mine too. However, the captain didn't allow the fighters to relax. They needed to move forward and find Bai Wu. He still stood by the table, trying to figure everything out. The system's voice sounded with obvious doubt. In his mind, Bai Wu already sketched a plan of the building. Judging by what he saw, the 2 rooms at the end of the corridor were definitely used as a laboratory. There should have been complex equipment there, but now everything lay in ruins. The camera lens was aimed directly at the cage. The subjects were kept in cages, constantly monitoring their every move. The essence of the experiment was simple. Introduce some reagent and record the reaction. Perhaps this drug is somehow related to the fallen. He thoughtfully brought his fingers to his lips. During one of the experiments, someone visited the subject. Their thoughts touched, but at that moment there was no room for hatred in her soul yet. Suddenly a knock on the door. It was Lin, who was trying to break inside with the others. "Hey, Bai Wu, how's your investigation going?" "Damn it, why is the door still locked?" "Do you hear me, Bai Wu?" Sean lazily threw his hands behind his head. This monster hasn't revealed its true form yet. How boring. The system was itching to ask, huh? The subject was visited, and their minds merged? What makes you say that? The young man just silently showed a note. It was all in it. He pictured the girl and the fallen killed on the first floor. Probably, before his transformation, that person hadn't met her. The hospital administration would hardly allow these monsters to contact each other. The system agreed. That's right. I wouldn't want my subjects to communicate with each other if I were in their place. Bai Wu turned his gaze to the wall. However, the note clearly mentioned this girl. Perhaps she secretly communicated with someone from the other test subjects. The monster on the first floor was very worried about her being transferred to the second building, and as it turned out, not without reason. The system picked up the reasoning. Huh? So, the staff discovered her abilities? Or, she was betrayed by one of her own who had access to her thoughts. He looked at Docker number 2. Nothing can be ruled out. One thing is clear. The fallen in the second building are much more dangerous than those in the first. They have far more malice and resentment. Perhaps those who gained special power were deliberately transferred here. Meanwhile, Lin didn't stop trying to open the door. "Little guy, are you done? How long can you hang out inside? What's going on? It won't budge, and this jerk is silent. Captain, did he die in there?" The man forcefully pulled the handle. I don't care. I'm just kicking it down." The captain barely managed to shout a warning. "Watch your feet!" Lin lowered his gaze and froze. Slimy tentacles were already reaching for his legs. "What the?" The captain instantly reacted to the threat. With one sharp movement, he cut off the dark shoots protecting the guy. He screamed, turning around, "Captain!" But the tentacles kept coming from everywhere, not giving a moment's respite. "Stay vigilant!" A new wave of attacks crashed down on the squad. When will this ever end? Die. On the table still lay the bloodied comb. The system spoke. "You've dealt with the diary and key. Only this item remains. Honestly, I have no idea why it's here." In Bai Wu's mind flashed the silhouette of a girl, a note, and this object. Judging by the text, the test subject was a woman, but who in their right mind would use a comb in such conditions? He decided to clarify, "Are you sure there is no information about this comb?" The system's voice immediately erupted in indignant protest. "Warning, do not dare doubt my professionalism. I said, there is no data." He froze again, his gaze fixed on the find, the comb. His watch still showed a stable condition, but someone else's numbers on the dial were already off the charts. Those were the watches of Yi Shuang, who was barely managing to deflect attacks from dark tentacles. One of them darted straight towards the girl, but Wang Shi appeared as if from nowhere, blocking its path. He parried the attack, cursing furiously, raised, "Damn it, why did the emotion levels spike so sharply? Is the fallen one nearby?" Lin was also restless. "Hey, did Bai Wu encounter him in that room? Xiao Yi, quickly determine where this monster is." Sean's face suddenly contorted into a frightening grimace. "Ha ha ha ha! Magnificent!" Wang Shi was genuinely alarmed. "Bad news. The guy has lost it. He isn't listening to me at all." Captain Gu frowned and took a combat stance. "I'll clear the way. Get him out, and let's leave immediately." He rushed forward, hacking through the thicket of tentacles with his sword. Suddenly, the doorknob on the other side moved, not escaping his notice. The remnants of the tentacles behind his back began to dissolve, staining the air crimson from his powerful attack. Bai Wu emerged calmly from the opened door, and Lin was the first to rush at him, waving his arms in annoyance. Bai Wu, if you're alive, couldn't you have made some sound?" In response, he merely smirked, not letting go of the comb. "Sorry, let's go to the 19th floor." Overcome with irritation, Lin approached Bai Wu. "Bai Wu, you little brat, how did you even survive?" He stood close to the smiling young man. "Since you were okay, why were you silent when we were breaking down the door?" Only Shan, noticeably embarrassed, noticed something strange. "By the way, where did all the monsters go?" Wang Shi, standing nearby, began to speculate. "Could it be? Was a fallen one inside? Did you take him down yourself?" The young man answered calmly, ignoring his comrade's excitement. "I can consider that I have temporarily suppressed the source, but it will repeat after some time." The captain simply watched him silently without saying a word, and Bai Wu confidently strode forward. "Let's go." There are no more clues here. We need to get to the 19th floor. Lin just snorted in dissatisfaction. Chip brat! Wang Shi was simply glad for the successful outcome. All right. The main thing is that he's okay. Sean, with a familiar gesture, brushed his bangs over his face, muttering, "But I haven't had enough fun yet." Yin Shuang followed, pressing her hand to her chest. She tried her best to stabilize the readings on her watch, and again, the elevator carried them higher. Looking at the changing floor numbers, Bai Wu turned to the captain. "Captain, I have a question. Were all the fallen ones humans before?" He turned to him, awaiting an answer. "Does that mean if we stay outside the tower for too long, under certain circumstances, we could also become fallen?" A heavy silence fell in the elevator after these words. But the captain simply answered a question with the question. "Have you studied the watches? They start sounding the alarm at 75. The upper limit is 300. Bai Wu glanced at his wrist. "Well, it was written in the manual." The captain looked intently at his own watch. "Pay attention to the color of the dial. It glows green up to 75. After that, it turns orange." The young man mentally pictured 2 dials of different colors. When the value reaches 175, the color changes to red. That's when the elevator stopped, announcing its arrival on the 19th floor. The captain froze at the opening doors. "Let's go." At that moment, the system's voice commented sarcastically, "Hey, and you aren't ashamed to ask such questions. Look, everyone is ignoring you. Although Wu Zhou didn't finish speaking, I think you already understand everything yourself." But Bai Wu wasn't bothered by this at all. Apparently, if there are too many negative emotions and the scale turns red, a person becomes fallen. This feature was clearly not accidental. The voice agreed. In fact, when people are enraged, they really do resemble monsters. Watches perfectly capture that turning point. The squad moved down the dark corridor. All windows were tightly closed, and it was pitch black all around. The captain touched his watch and it lit up like a powerful flashlight. "Turn on the lights. Xiao Yi, scout ahead." He replied with noticeable anxiety. Captain, there are six fallen ones behind the door. Their level is higher than that monster you defeated." Beams of light snatched one of the doors from the darkness. Shan was inspired, ready for battle, but the captain stopped him with an authoritative gesture. "Wait for orders." Unsheathing his sword, he touched the door. But a monstrous figure with glowing red eyes was waiting behind it. And it wasn't alone. 2 more monsters emerged from the darkness. Bai Wu stood next to Wang Shi. "Is the captain always like this?" He simply nodded. "Yeah. Although I'm a front-runner, the captain is always the first to rush into battle." The room was literally teeming with fallen foes, and the captain stepped forward to meet them alone. He instantly launched into an attack. "Don't worry," added Wang Shi, "even if he encounters an opponent that proves too strong." The captain delivered a crushing blow to the first fallen enemy from below upwards. He caught up with the second in a swift leap. He will still emerge victorious from this battle. The system's voice expressed admiration once more. "Wow, what speed." Bai Wu attempted to deduce, could it be that accompanying power develops different aspects in each person? Wang Shi crossed his arms over his chest. "The essence is the same, but with each new level you gain abilities that enhance your best qualities. It's difficult to describe this process in words." Then he affectionately put an arm around Bai Wu. "You'll understand it yourself when you move from the first stage to the second." The system chimed in. "Perfectly clear. It's just like skills in games." Qing Yu, it seems, has leveled up his speed. Before their eyes appeared images of Wang Shi in various poses demonstrating his powerful physique. Clearly, this fighter had been developing his attack and endurance. Lin lazily twirled a strand of hair around his finger. How boring. The system provided characteristics for him as well. Lin Zhirui, balance between attack and speed is 50-50. Sheng Yi fiercely supports the captain. "Captain, good luck." The system gives characteristics to him too. Sheng Yi, master of perception and attack. But analyzing the girl presents some difficulties for the system. Hong Yin, I can't say strange. She should be the weakest in the team, but her stats clearly aren't related to survivability. While Bai Wu watches them with a smile, the system is perplexed. In this team, besides Wang Shi, are all psychotics who have no regard for their lives? There's absolutely no sanity. One needs to run from here altogether. At that moment, the captain freezes. Ready. He stands with his sword in hand amidst the defeated fallen enemies, and calls out to the squad behind him, "Let's go." As Bai Wu passes by the bodies of the fallen, the system provides their description. Fallen level 3, mutation, sickle-shaped arm capable of cutting through metal. These guys would definitely not refuse to open a martial arts school called Praying Mantis Fist. He continues walking past the bodies. It's a pity that such skilled fighters are now just lying here, guarding the hospital. After the directors were devoured, they only obeyed the orders of the poor girl. He casts one last thoughtful glance at them. Apparently, this group was the gatekeepers of the second course. Beiwu turns to the captain, causing him to turn around. Captain, wait. The fallen of the first cores are not our match. And as long as we control our emotions, the creatures from the second cores won't sense us. The longer we stay outside the tower, the faster our accompanying power grows. Why don't we linger in the first cores? But Lin responds to him, not the captain. Ha, so you're a complete novice? The world beyond the tower rejects us. Every 4 hours, interference intensifies within the body. Baiwu clarifies interference? Lin clenches his fist. For example, speed drops, senses become dulled, mood swings or hallucinations begin, attacks weaken, you resist fallen enemies worse, start to fear light or darkness. The list goes on and on. They continue their journey. Moreover, every time you exit the tower, you encounter random interference. These words settle in Bai Wu's mind. Every 4 hours, a random debuff, so simply standing around and farming levels won't work. As the squad moves forward, the system smirks. Heh heh heh! The little guy survived alone in the blue zone for 24 days, which means he received 6 interferences daily. He endured over 100 debuffs and still fought fallen enemies. He is strong. Bai Wu walks on. The system gives a second piece of advice. Don't try to rush through the second core. You need to go down for the key. Otherwise, even if you overcome the corridor, you won't be able to enter the third course. Bai Wu continues walking. In the darkness, numerous red eyes flash. A friendly reminder. A strange thing swallowed the key. Bai Wu took his comb with a hymn, putting it in his bag. The system continues. Although you can rely on the little guy's brute force alone, I advise you to use the comb anyway. That way, you'll receive more rewards. A terrifying voice rings out. Before them is a creature with short red hair and an open mouth full of sharp teeth dripping with saliva. Welcome. The monster hangs above them on the ceiling like a spider in its web. To my arena. Captain Gu adjusts something on his wristwatch. Sheng Yi, indignant at the pitch darkness where only the light from the captain's watch is visible. Hey, why is it so dark here? The captain is going to use that thing? Rookie, be careful. A bright lantern of unusual shape appears in the captain's hand. They follow on, illuminating the path. The system immediately provides a description. Wow, Medusa Gorgon's lantern with petrification effect. This little guy has quite a few treasures hidden up his sleeve. Jilin level, 4D. Bai Wu follows behind the captain, who illuminates the way for the whole squad. Hong Xin, walking behind, notices. Since the corridor is on the upper floor, we don't need to explore the lower ones. Through it, we will get to both the third and fourth cores. Bai Wu agrees. That's right. It's a pity that the key to the third corpse is located here, and you better prepare yourselves. This is no longer the White Zone. Wang Shi curiously turns around. Huh? How do you know the key is here? He hears in response, Caution is good, but first you need to check what's ahead, right? The captain touches a wall on which his yellow cells light up. No, a glowing circle spreads from his hand. To get to the third core, you must follow the rule. The location cannot be destroyed. Bai Wu clarifies. The location cannot be destroyed? The Captain Gu explains, turning away. The rules of the outside world are very strange. You should know that yourself. Usually locations can be destroyed, but where the key is hidden, no matter how powerful accompanying power may be, nothing can be destroyed. The young man freezes, listening to the system. Ha ha ha, an invisible wall. How familiar. We'll explore the area ahead later. Shungi presses the elevator button, but there's only silence. Captain, the button isn't responding. Everyone stops. The system mocks. This core is a real tsundere. The owner didn't want to install an elevator, but pretended that it was here. Bai Wu guesses. A fake elevator? He looks at the doors, continuing to listen. Exactly. And pay attention to the plate on top. It's not 19, it's 0. And below you, -1 floor. Indeed, the number 19 is drawn crookedly and sloppily there. The system whispers, even if you're not a feng shui expert, you probably understand. This resembles 18 circles of hell. It won't end well. Beiwu looks around. The system continues. Your goal is at the bottom of hell, and it's impossible to get there directly. Before them is a staircase. It seems they will have to descend the steps floor by floor. The team begins descending the stairs. After going down just a short distance, they notice that the staircase ends abruptly. Hey, what's the matter? Is there no further path? The captain instantly deciphers the building's plan. No, the passage is on the opposite side. It seems everything here is arranged so that you have to cross the corridor on each floor to reach the next flight of stairs. Before them truly lies a dark, dirty corridor with broken floor tiles in places. Lin notices an inscription on the wall. Wait, we just came down from the 19th floor. How did we end up on -1? He examines the ceiling for lamps, but it's empty. And that's not all. Have you noticed? There is no lighting here at all. If it weren't for the captain's flashlight, we would be in complete darkness. He peers intently at the wall. The lower we go, the more bodies of the fallen there are here. And indeed, numerous remains lie under their feet. The bodies are torn to shreds, almost none remain intact. They direct the beam of the flashlight further, revealing a wider view. Damn it. It feels like crazy experiments were conducted here. Shane grabs his clothes again. Captain. As soon as we descended, I felt that the fallen was nearby. I've never been in such a creepy atmosphere before. He continues to follow the commander. How scary. Wangsher also looks around. It seems the target is somewhere below. We felt it, and us. Suddenly he notices something. Ah? Beiwu shines the flashlight in that direction, surprising Wangsher. What's wrong, Beiwu? Why did you stop so suddenly? In the corridor illuminated by him, the system provides a hint. Even if I'm cute with the camera, you will see a much more accurate picture. We are your helpers. He ponders. Why did the notification appear so suddenly? He remembers the display case on the street. The system asks, returning lost property is a noble act, but are you sure you want to? He begins frantically searching for something in his bag. A camera. Could it be? Yinchuan notices his bustle. What are you looking for? A camera appears in his hand, that's it. This only causes Lin to laugh. Fool, let me enlighten you. There are extremely few items that can become a Jilin. You can go in and out of the tower 100 times and not find even one. Don't carry so much junk with you. When it comes time to save your skin, they will only be a burden. But he just smiles, directing the lens into the depths of the corridor. The system supports him. Oh, regarding the predisposition to Jilin. Although this device has little of it, it can still be useful. If it stays outside the tower longer, new functions may open up. A bench and shackles are visible at the far end of the room. Say 202707021411525 to yourself, then look at cell number 12. A surprise awaits you there. But remember, this can only be used twice a week. Bai Wu aims the camera and looks through the viewfinder. This sequence of numbers, July 2nd, 2027, 14 hours, 15 minutes, and 25 seconds. A cross of yellow light flashes. Wangshu is immediately encouraged. Damn, it really works? He's incredibly lucky. Lin just turns away in dissatisfaction. How will some photograph help us? The device produces a snapshot. It seems... This camera takes pictures from the past, he exclaims. Ah? In the photo is a boy with fangs, red hair, and yellow eyes on purple sclerae. A date can be seen in the corner. The captain also studies the photograph. Well, did you learn anything? But Bai Wu doesn't take his eyes off the card. Captain, do high-level fallen have reason? Handcuffs hang above the bench. Some of them retain human features, such as the ability to speak. Captain Gu continues to look forward, but there are also those who, although called fallen, would be more correctly named evolvers. Bai Wu stares intently at the photo. Evolvers. Finally, he looks away. If I'm not mistaken, the teenager in this picture is the guard. According to the captain, a high-level fallen lives here. We haven't encountered such ones yet. A creepy voice of that same creature sounds again. So, 8. It looms over them, clinging to the cobwebs. Its body resembles a spider's. The captain reacts instantly, grabbing his sword. High-level fallen, prepare for battle, and in a jump attacks the spider-like creature. But the monster dodges, causing Uju to be wary. Dodged. A cheerful and chilling laugh rings out. Saliva flies from the creature's mouth. Ha 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 ha. Welcome to my arena. Then he brings down a clawed paw for an attack. And now, let me entertain you properly. From his crushing blows, the floor under their feet begins to crumble, flying into huge pieces. Wangsher immediately realizes the danger. The floor is collapsing. Back. Bai Wu, ahead. Be careful. Baiwu flies into the abyss along with the debris, dropping the flashlight. The system panics. We're doomed. It's all over. You don't have any combat skills at all. We are going to die. The captain desperately reaches out his hand, trying to catch him. Baiwu, grab on, and he manages to grab onto his palm. The other members of the squad watch the scene in horror. Captain! Amidst the cries of comrades, both disappear into the darkness of the collapse. Captain! Baiwu! The system tries to bring Baiwu to his senses while he lies motionless on a pile of rubble. Hey! Wake up! Quickly! Oh my God, save and preserve! At least let him wake up! How could you fall asleep at the very moment when the enemy attacked? What's wrong with you? He slowly opens his eyes, barely groaning. The system immediately bursts into joy. My dear brother, you finally came to your senses. Do you even understand that if you had slept a little longer, you might have turned into a fallen one? If Uju hadn't rushed to the rescue, we would have been wiped out. The captain, illuminating the space with a flashlight, looks around. Awake? I examined the surroundings. It seems this is the lowest floor. The layout here is completely different from upstairs. They find themselves surrounded by massive columns. The place looked extremely simple, an open space where there was nothing but these supports. He calls the guy who is still rubbing his bruised head. By the way, take a look at this. Judging by the tracks, at least 10 fallen of different types fought here, but there isn't a single scratch on these numbers, as if they were deliberately bypassed. 12. I think there's some connection with this number. A clear number was visible on the column before them. The system once again praises the commander. He is worthy of his title. He figured everything out so quickly. There was one stubborn boy, nicknamed the 12th Disciple, and he took a liking to this number. Baiwu thoughtfully places a hand on his chin. The 12th Disciple? Disciples usually inherit traits from their mentors. So there must be a teacher somewhere. At that moment, a voice warns. The ceiling here is dilapidated. Watch your head. He instinctively glances upwards. Head? A huge fragment crashes out of a hole in the ceiling. The captain directs a beam of light towards it. Something collapsed from the upper level. The building is more fragile than it appears. Baiwu examines it closely. Before them lies a twisted iron door. A door from the upper floor? A system notification pops up. 17th floor, number 12. After devouring the spider woman from the 16th floor, I learned to control bodies with threads. Now I am not just the strongest among the complete. 23 loyal slaves are at my disposal, my main trump cards. Do you have enough strength to deal with them in a moment? If you don't catch me, I will swallow the key to the third cores. This only elicits a smirk from him. Since his opponent decided to reveal himself so openly, the outcome of the battle becomes obvious. He freezes before the door and the hole in the ceiling. So this isn't just dry data from the camera, but the thoughts of the fallen who inhabited this place back then. Number 12. Is that a photo? A snapshot he took earlier flashes in his memory. Closing his eyes, Baiwu immerses himself in thought. He needs to take stock. According to the diary he found, the incident at the psychiatric hospital occurred in 2026. Individual facts, like puzzle pieces, swirl around him, waiting to be connected. At that time, people were most likely not even entering the tower yet. An image of a door appears in his subconscious. Uchu and many others do not know the history preceding the era of the tower. The door slowly sinks into the water, descending into the depths. Reappearing, it prompts Baiwu to grasp the handle. The system's voice vocalizes the thoughts of the fallen. First floor, number 12. Most floors serve as both prisons and arenas. There used to be monsters swarming here. Some were created right here. Others were brought by unknown people. They fight fiercely with each other, and only the strongest are allowed to rise higher. Baiwu analyzes, battles, monsters. It seems this hospital became like that several years before the tower appeared. He opens the door, and a silhouette of the fallen is visible in the crimson water at his feet. The system continues to transmit foreign thoughts. Third floor, number 12. I devoured Gru. His ability to sense death proved very useful. I'm going to the 4th floor, hoping to meet someone more interesting. Baiwu notes to himself, and all these records only confirm my assumptions. Before him in the water, a seemingly endless corridor of doors is formed. The voice of the fallen sounds again. 4th floor, number 12. I will not die. I will deceive death itself. But the prey on this floor is quite tasteless. These nobodies are not worth becoming part of me. An image flashes above, one fallen devouring another. Thoughts continue. 6th floor, number 12. Heh heh heh. Finally a worthy opponent. Out of respect for his strength, I devoured him completely. 9th floor, number 12. I feel there are no equals left here. The director is afraid of me, the staff trembles with fear, but I will pretend to be obedient until I destroy all the monsters. The next door, behind which a fallen reaches for the light. 10th floor, number 12. I am the strongest, as it should be. 13th floor, number 12. I am moving further away from the light, but getting closer to the truth that my teacher spoke of. Soon I will become complete, and when I get out of here, I will turn into his perfect weapon and crush the tower. A new door behind which a scream filled with pain is heard. 14th floor, number 12. Impossible, 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 impossible. How could I lose? She's just trash from the first core. How can she even be compared to a genius? I must defeat her. Baiwu lowers his gaze. The turning point. Everything changed on the minus 14th floor. He opens the next door. It seems that poor girl from the 11th floor of the first core was transferred to the second at some point. Before his eyes appears an image of a fallen, tormented by doubts. Was this hospital trying to create a perfect being? And this 12th disciple successfully fought his way up until he was stopped on the 14th floor by that very girl. The absolute boss of the 4th core once lost to a small boss from the 2nd. He raises his head and opens his eyes. Interesting. Before him is a door with the number 15. 15th floor, number 12. 1 hand, 2 hands, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's no end to them. This makes the guy think, turning negative emotions into limb. That's one of the tricks of that poor girl. The walls are intact. It probably ended too quickly. This little boss was turned into a complete introvert after meeting her. A smirk plays on his face. How arrogant he was at the beginning, and how much he has changed after facing a truly terrifying enemy. His gaze falls on Dr. 10 to 12. 16th floor, number 12. It's not about my weakness, but about not devouring enough. There are so many delicacies on the 16th floor. If I take their power, I will be able to defeat her. After all, my suffering is much deeper than hers. In the water beneath him is reflected a desolate fallen, slumped helplessly on the floor. What a limited sufferer. His thoughts perfectly reflect the madness on his face. Judging by the records from the 17th floor, the poor girl won again, and his confidence finally collapsed. As a result, he was thrown into the 2nd core, and the winner was probably transferred even deeper. Baiwu's face expresses peace. A slight smile touches his lips. Not only did this girl become his personal demon that he could never defeat, but he also failed to live up to his teacher's expectations, failing to show what he is capable of. Finally, he returns to reality. Captain, I understood the meaning of the number 12. The captain looks at him in surprise. Huh? Baiwu explains. The number 12 indicates the number of the fallen we just encountered. Remember the photo? That guy is the monster we met. He remembers the terrifying creature with a spider's body. They really studied and created fallen of such a high level within these hospital walls. He points to the ruins. They fought and devoured each other here, so the upper floors are literally littered with bodies. The 2nd core is an arena created to weed out the fallen. The captain freezes. So there were 12 fallen created here? The guy clarifies. There were at least 12 of them. The system intervenes again. No, no, no. It's better to say that the teacher, whom the 12th disciple admired so much, had at least 12 fallen. Moreover, this teacher is plotting something terrible. Captain Gu sighs. Things are bad. A high-level fallen isn't an opponent Wang Shi and the others can handle. They need to find a way back to them, see if there's a path upwards. And they are already being watched. An eye with a yellow iris on a violet sclera. Uchu manages to feel it, passing the lantern to Baiwu. Shh. He's already out? He draws his sword. It seems the presence of fallen is felt ahead. The return will have to be postponed. The captain steps forward, shielding Baiwu with his body. Be careful. Don't get too close to me, but don't fall behind either. The lantern remains with Baiwu. This is the Jellyfish Gorgon's lantern. You can use it to restrain enemy movements, but don't rely on it too much. It isn't very effective against strong fallen. Uchu heads towards the first opponent while the guy illuminates the way. The system once again praises the captain. Ha ha! how he cares about his subordinates, and the lamp is really almost useless against powerful fallen. At best, it will give a negligible effect. Moreover, these creatures are unusual. They can't even be called fallen in the full sense. Simply put, they used to be them. The monster's hand hardens right before our eyes. The system immediately notifies, beep, beep, warning, mutation, hardening. The fallen swings for a strike, and hits with such force that it crumbles stones. The captain attacks in response so quickly that the trajectory of his blade becomes almost invisible. He unleashes a series of crushing blows on the enemy, literally sweeping him away. Specifically, he instantly shatters one of its limbs, talent, Limitless Shadow. The next strike delivers a decisive blow to the fallen's neck. Like a furious lightning bolt, he strikes the enemy again and again. The system is even more delighted. Oh yes, that's Limitless Shadow. Simply put, with this talent, he moves so fast that it seems like he doubles. Although the fallen is of a high level, he's no match for the captain. By the way, don't look down on this shorty just because you don't have emotions. This isn't about gutting fish. The defeated body of the fallen falls to the ground. Bai Wu, however, is thinking about something else. These are the creatures that the 12th disciple devoured. The voice agrees, heh, right. The remains lie on the ground, accompanied by system commentary. Now they are no more than pets of that dim-witted boy, summoned beasts. Judging by their reaction to emotional surges, they resemble puppets with simple reflexes rather than fully fallen creatures. Bai Wu examines the fragments. Are they dissolving? The voice confirms, of course, after all, they shouldn't even have bodies, these are just monsters created by that guy. A hand suddenly appears from the floor behind Bai Wu. The voice warns him, oh, take note, there are 3 little ones here. I advise you to stay away from them. He turns around, noticing the threat. A fallen creature resembling a monkey approaches him. He directs the light of the Gorgon jellyfish lantern at it. But the monster is indifferent, as the system immediately informs him. Petrification, impossible. Slowing effect, weak. The fallen attacks, but slightly slower, allowing the boy to dodge. So it didn't work after all? Captain's sword already flies in a swift attack. However, the system instantly scans the enemy, rare mutation, sense of danger, and the fallen evades Uchu's strike. He sharply bounces away and hides behind a column. The captain is disappointed. Weak, didn't expect any of them to be able to hide in the shadows. But Bai Wu feels no fear. Captain, I'll handle this one. You take care of the rest. He casts a doubtful glance at him. Are you sure? But the boy confirms. Yeah, I already have a couple of ideas about it. At that moment, the fallen seems to seep through the column. Rare mutation, stealth. As for this guy, I am unarmed. A second large opponent prepares to attack, a cosmic-colored creature with numerous blue eyes and red pupils. Instead of a hand, it has something like a funnel with an eye. Rare mutation, spatial distortion. I can't handle this one. The fallen pierces them with a chilling gaze. The system warns again. Beep, beep, attack from above, recommend immediate evasion. Uju also notices the funnel above his head. Bai Wu, above. He grabs the boy by the collar and manages to pull him out from under the fallen's attack. But even in such a situation, he remains calm, analyzing what is happening. Another unpleasant ability, and the fallen meanwhile summons new spatial distortion funnels. A hail of viscous substance attacks continues to pursue the fleeing captain. He is surrounded by funnels growing like colossal pillars. This forces him to forcefully push off the ground again and rush into an attack on these pillars. He flies straight towards the fallen, approaching one of its eyes. His gaze is filled with determination. I'll slice you up like those bodies above, and begins to hack at this substance, to shreds. The fallen moves fluidly, like a liquid. Its body resembles moisture. Mutation, liquid body, weakness, central eye. Bai Wu carefully observes it. Now the next one, it seems he's a coward. Holding the lantern in his hands, he walks among the rubble. The voice warns him again. Warning, you are about to be attacked from behind. Recommend moving aside. And indeed, another fallen creature resembling a monkey emerges from the shadows behind him. Bai Wu raises the lantern. He ignores the captain and attacks me. It seems there's something in me that worries him, and it quickly slips back into the shadow. The system praises the boy. Bingo, as expected from my partner. You figured it out quickly. Then he continues on his way, illuminating the road with the lantern. There are no other options for what monsters might fear. The system agrees with him. You're right, but one question. How are you going to win? But a confident smile plays on the young man's face. Waving the flickering lantern, he looks at the fighting captain. Captain, forcing him to turn around. With a sharp movement, he throws him the jellyfish lantern. Its weak spot is its eyes. The object flies straight towards him, and Bai Wu watches, pleased with the accuracy of his throw. The captain doesn't lose time and catches the lantern, which immediately flares up with bright light. He directs it at the many-eyed fallen creature. Bai Wu shields his face from the blinding glare. Right, monsters like these are most afraid of light, and the best place to hide is in the shadow under the lantern. A long shadow falls behind the captain where the boy stands. 10 minutes ago, the clawed paw of the fallen creature strikes. Wang Shi blocks the strike with an outstretched hand. Reflecting the attack, he commands the others. Shan Xiaoyi, Yin Xuan. They leap at the monsters in a jump. Shan shouts, "Look at me!" and swings for a hit with a smile. "Take that!" But an armored clawed paw is faster. The monster closes its defenses and Shan's knife flies away. A cunning smirk flickers beneath this shield. Gotcha. And a massive web bursts forth from the spider-like body. You! Yin-san notices this webbing first. Thin strands catch her like a fly. Lin manages to intercept the girl, and she lands safely beside him. Be careful, don't get caught in the webs. Shan is clearly indignant that only she was saved. Lin Wuzuo, you didn't save me again. But the reply comes rather harshly. Get lost, you'll be fine anyway. Numerous violet eyes flashed in the darkness. A horrifying spider maw suddenly opens behind the girl. Wang Shi immediately rushes to help, while Lin is just starting to turn around. Behind you! He throws a punch, armed with a spiked gauntlet for a powerful blow, and strikes one of the spider legs with force. This clearly angers the fallen creature, and you as well. Its arm begins to mutate right before their eyes. Lengthening, the limb delivers a crushing blow to Wang Shi, who barely manages to block. Did you really think you could defeat me now that I'm complete? Lin directs his whip, coming to the aid of his comrade. Wang Shi! Excellent! The strong man grabs the monster's wrist, and Lin immediately wraps his whip tightly around its arm. Shan Xiaoying and Meng Xiang deliver a synchronized strike, severing the monster's limb. Lin confidently coordinates the team's actions. Wonderful. However, he suddenly notices something that makes his eyes widen. The severed hand begins to rapidly regenerate. Damn regeneration. Give it even a second and it heals immediately. And indeed, new flesh grows in place of the wound, leaving only sticky slime. If this continues, this battle will last forever. Drool drips from the fallen creature's predatory maw. Forever? No, you are mistaken. It fires streams of white, sticky webbing again. Zlovestia cocoons begin to form on the strands. The monster's face contorts into a ferocious grin and its eyes burn with mad fire. I will finish you off right now. Watching this, Lin begins to worry seriously. And just when a cocoon bursts open with a crack, releasing viscous slime, the captain and Bai Wu became alert. Fallen creatures spill out of the slime, so that's where they all went, damn it. There are still several such cocoons hanging in the web, and the number of enemies is growing. The captain uses his flashlight beam to drive away the many-eyed fallen creature. A creature resembling a monkey suddenly jumps out from the shadows. The captain immediately notices the threat. This time, the monster attacks him directly. This forces him to resort to technique again, ultimate shadow. Gripping the hilt of his sword tightly, he launches into an attack. His target is that small and incredibly agile fallen creature. Numerous eyes glare at him with undisguised fury. Well then, aiming right for this eye, he plunges the blade directly into the target. Thick emerald substance sprays from the wound. The captain drives the sword in all the way to the hilt. The system immediately announces, battle complete. Even this little one put up a fight, and you exceeded all expectations. Having finished the job, Wuju sheathes his sword. Bai Wu, if I hadn't been here, no one else would have reacted in time. He simply smiles knowingly. Yes, I know. That's why I allowed myself to take such a risk, because you were here. But Wuju is still uneasy about something. There's something wrong with these fallen creatures. They leave no trace after death. A voice sounds again in praise. Wow. As befits a captain, he is very perceptive. He steps on a piece of webbing on the ground. They don't completely disintegrate into dust. Traces are still visible here, similar to webbing. Bai Wu picks up on the thought, remembering the spider-like creature's appearance. Webbing? That is, perhaps it's the ability of that monster above. It emits webbing from which these creatures are born, but they cannot be considered true fallen beings. The captain clicks his tongue in displeasure. Tch, what a hassle. If even summoned creatures possess such power, then the squad won't be able to handle the fallen on their own. We need to hurry and help them. Meanwhile, the battle continues. Somewhere high above them. At that moment, the captain truly worries about the others. So much trouble. If the summoned creatures are this powerful, the squad won't be able to cope with the fallen. We must rush and support them. Bai Wu receives a new system notification. Warning, a 6th-level fallen is rapidly approaching. Spiderwebs pierce the ground right next to them. The heroes barely manage to jump aside. Baiwu raises his head. They're here. The falling Shang notices them below. They're there, down below. All the other squad members fly down along with fragments of the floor. Wangshi immediately warns of danger. Hey, Captain, Baiwu, there are still fallen ahead. Don't relax. Captain Gu instantly rushes off, leaving Baiwu behind. He races to help the guys. Lin Wuzuo, Wang Shi, and Shang Xiaoyi. They immediately understand his order. Lin throws a whip, helping the captain soar higher. Got it. Fallen swoop down from above. At this time, the captain flies towards Wang Shi. The latter extends his arm so that the commander can push off of it and rise even higher. Propelling himself powerfully with his palm, he shoots upwards. While all the other squad members have already landed, Lin watches him with a smile. Captain? Wang Shi looks on with enthusiasm. I'm leaving this to you. The sword, meanwhile, smoothly slides out of its scabbard. The captain prepares to use his technique, Limitless Shadow. He delivers 4 clear strikes against the enemies, and each one hits its mark precisely. But that's not enough, and he continues the attack. Shang excitedly raises his hands. The captain is the strongest. Beiwu calmly observes the battle while the system's voice again praises, Wow, that flawless alley-oop, his perfect technique, how cool is that? Maybe we can too. The captain hooks his hand onto a rocky outcrop and lands confidently. He notices sticky threads on his clothes, spiderwebs. Those creatures were also. Suddenly, the very same fallen looms behind him with a predatory gaze and a terrifying smirk. So you're the leader here. The captain instantly jumps back, brandishing his sword. Be careful, he's very strong. Wang Shi shouts this. I think he's level 5. The fallen raises both hands, one of which has transformed into a massive shield. Weaklings like you are no match for me, but you're different. But I am still stronger. Sharp limbs come crashing down on the captain. Without wasting time, he pushes off from the rock and attacks. The system doesn't fall silent. Ugh! Who would have thought he'd become so disgusting? Like lightning, he dodges the fallen's attacks and inflicts a deep wound in his shoulder area, cutting through flesh. Purple blood begins to seep out of the wound. The system also ironically comments, By the way, if you dissect his carcass and give it to the Journey to the West troop, you can make a good profit. I like that. But the fallen has no intention of giving up and sharply turns towards the captain. With its paw, it grabs the captain by the ankle and throws him forcefully into a pile of stones. The system's voice instantly analyzes the monster. Mutations, metal slicing, acid corrosion, web entanglement, penetration of highly toxic substances, limb stretching, and lightning-fast reaction. A crimson drop appears on the captain's lips from the crushing blow. But he notices the main thing. The cut inflicted on the fallen earlier is healing before his eyes. The system also evaluates this. Rare mutations, monstrous strength, limb regeneration, blocking. Perfect mutation. Reaction at the threshold of life and death. However, the captain has no intention of retreating and prepares for a new attack. A voice supports him, and yet Wuju is incredibly strong. He's fighting on equal terms. No, he's even starting to gain the upper hand. Too powerful an opponent. Concentrating, Wuju takes a deep breath, and the fallen laughs horribly in anticipation of the battle. Ha 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 ha. The voice wonders, do you think we should rely solely on Wuju's strength? He spreads his arms wide as if ready to embrace the enemy. Beiwu silently observes the course of the battle, listening to the system's advice. I must warn you, if you kill this devil in any way other than with the help of the little guy, you can force that arrogant fellow to give you one of the talents he likes. This intrigues him. A new talent? Under the monstrous laughter of the monster, the battle resumes. Ha 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 ha. A viscous slime begins to seep from the damaged spider legs. But the creature seems unbothered. I'm so happy. It's been a long time since I felt such delight. The captain is thrown backward, breaking with his sword against the ground. Captain, are you all right? But there isn't even a hint of doubt on his face. I'm fine, don't get close. Suddenly someone steps forward. It's Bai Wu. He hands a bag to Wang Shi. Captain, Wang Shi looks at him in surprise as he accepts the items. Bai Wu? But Bai Wu voices his unexpected decision with a smile. From here on out, I'll handle it myself, and heads straight towards the fallen creature. Allow me to take care of this. While the rest of the team is shocked, Lin is the only one trying to reason with him. Huh? You think you're a hero? Are you looking for death? Aren't you overconfident? The fallen covers his face with his hand, while a new wound opens on his leg. The captain blocks the young man's path with his sword. Lin Rui is right. Team, prepare for battle. Bai Wu, get back. but he confidently touches the tip of the blade and continues to walk forward. Captain, let me handle this. I know what to do. And the rest of you should try your best to look calm and indifferent instead of talking. Hearing this, everyone freezes in stunned silence. Huh? What are you even saying? Wangshi also tries to bring him back to reality. Look at the captain's face. Captain, your expression? The captain coldly replies, What are you staring at? Everyone immediately looks away from his icy tone. No, nothing. And Bai Wu gives the following instruction. In short, don't attack until the fallen does. The closer Bai Wu gets to the monster, the louder it laughs. He 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 he. It examines the young man with excitement in its eyes. Another opponent. Is that you? But the young man simply listens with a smile. However, it doesn't matter. Whoever comes, you are all the same. You who come from the tower are just my food. Suddenly, its spider legs crash into the ground in front of the young man. I'll eat you all to the last one! The attack lands very close but misses its target. Ha 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 ha! Its hand, more human-like, reaches out towards the young man, and like a snake wraps around his body. But he remains completely calm with a warm smile on his face. Hoo 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 hoo. My dear child, I am not from the tower. The fallen falls into confusion. It now stares intently at the speaker. Don't you remember? You are my most precious creation among the complete ones. A great work of art, the most obedient of all children. Ilya, surprisingly, the monster releases him, removing its hand. It is clearly lost and cannot believe its ears. Beiwu even allows himself to joke. Ha ha, I'm kidding. Don't take it to heart. You're just a failure. His silhouette is reflected in the fallen's dilated pupils. Teacher? No, impossible. Baiwu's face expressed arrogance. It seems that over these years, you haven't lost all your wits. That's one of your few virtues. The fallen clutches his head with his hands, repeating the same words again and again. No, impossible. He seemed to have lost his mind, shouting a single phrase. You are not my teacher. But the monster continued to look at the young man before him. If teacher is alive, then why didn't he come for me? The comrades watched in silence, and only Lin dared to voice his thoughts. A teacher? Captain, Bai Wu said just a few words and already drove this fallen mad. Could it be? But the captain, like everyone else, simply continued to observe. Unclear, but I think Bai Wu got valuable information in that room. Bai Wu himself didn't take his eyes off the enemy, pondering, however, what happened with those black hands then? Bai Wu even touched the fallen's leg. So, poor thing, you thought I was dead and therefore didn't seek me out. He withdrew his hand. Perhaps I should have visited you earlier, but that would only remind me that I'm an even bigger failure than the patients in this hospital. He stepped closer, stepping right on the spider's head. They created a perfect specimen. Stopping before its true face, he said, But you are a complete disaster. Worse than any blank. He loomed over it, exerting strong psychological pressure. Ilya, I cannot bear to have such a disgrace in my life as you. At these words, the spider legs trembled and thrashed on the floor. No, this is not true, no. Baiwu coldly watched its torment. I am your best work. His gaze became heavy, and a thought flashed through his mind. Successfully demoralized. A system voice immediately responded. Shh, you hit where it hurts the most. You have a terrible character. He calmly jumped off its body. You know why I placed you here? And began to walk away slowly without turning around. Because there were those who could make you perfect. But you, only then did he cast a displeased glance at it. You disappointed me. You're afraid even of the scrubs from the 4th ward. The fallen covered his ears, not wanting to hear anything, but still felt the presence of the teacher. In the end, I have to clean up the mess. You are not just trash, you are a complete problem. Watching this, Sheng commented, Listen, is Bai Wu really exploring this area for the first time like us? His face betrayed confusion. He understands the essence of this creature so deeply, as if he sees right through it. Incredible. Lin pressed a fist to her forehead. Wait, too much information. Give me time to think. Meanwhile, Bai Wu continued his psychological attack. Over these years, your failures have severely damaged my reputation. The tower still stands, and I've created countless children like you. The fallen one clutched his head as the number 12 flashed before his eyes. They are far better than you and fulfilled all my requirements. Number 12? Number 12? A look of profound disappointment crossed Bai Wu's face. And only you, my sole disgrace. The fallen one couldn't bear it any longer and began to plead, forgive me. Forgive me, Master, give me another chance, just one more chance. I am not a failure. Not a failure, no. As Bai Wu watched this scene, the system's voice sarcastically remarked, "Oh, enough already. You've broken his little heart. Poor thing. But I'm curious. How did you manage to copy the character and tone of this master so accurately?" We didn't have any information about him. Looking at the dejected monster, he replied mentally, "I simply imitated my own father." The system's voice fell silent in embarrassment. Sorry, but Bai Wu wasn't angry. "It's nothing." From the inscription on the door, I understood that Ilya is arrogant, but suffers from low self-esteem. He's a devoted dog, starving for affection. He pictured 2 doctors in his mind. In the records on the 9th and 13th floors, Ilya mentioned hospital staff and the master. The boy pretended to obey the rules of the hospital, but fanatically worshipped the master, and openly stated that he wanted to become his weapon. The system clarified, "So you realize that the fallen ones in this hospital are divided into 2 camps." Imagining horrific images of the staff, he mentally confirmed his suspicion. Bingo. On one side is the 9th Psychiatric Hospital, and on the other, the mysterious master of Ilya. Before him, the fallen one collapsed onto the ground with his entire spider body. The master orchestrated everything so that Ilya ended up here. He has a special gift. He becomes stronger by absorbing other fallen ones. The goal was simple: to present Ilya as an ordinary ward of the hospital and force him to evolve by devouring the local inhabitants. Ilya still felt pressure from the master, but the hospital spawned something far more terrifying. A little girl on the 11th floor. Ilya was defeated 3 times. It seems the poor fellow actually believed he was worthless. Bai Wu continued to play his role. I have a premonition that in one of the zones I will definitely encounter the true master of Ilya. He is a truly ominous being. He reached into his pocket for a comb. Well, it's time to finish this. Seeing it, the fallen one screamed in terror. "This comb! The master! You actually killed her!" Bai Wu replied, twirling the object in his hands. "Hey, Ilya, my child." He demonstrated the comb to him with a triumphant smile. "The plan to create perfect beings failed because of you, but I never forgot about you. See? I did come. I hope you won't let me down this time." Sobbing, the fallen one crawled toward him. "Give me a chance. Give me another chance." He writhed before him like a worm. "Master, I will definitely fulfill your commission. I won't fail you again. Honestly." Bai Wu approached him, prostrate on the ground. "You are an integral part of the plan to create perfection. You know, the value of artworks in museums is only half dependent on the skill of the creator." Sitting beside him, he began to comb the fallen one's hair. "The other half is its history. It's what makes it eternal. And I want to give that eternity to you." The fallen one cries as he combs his hair. "They became a part of you, so that you could get closer to perfection. I hope you can become a part of me too and stay with me forever. Your body will live on eternally within me, but first it must be separated from your will." Ilya nods with a smile. Good, good. What do I need to do, Master? What is required of me?" Leaning close to his ear, Bai Wu whispered something. At these words, the fallen one's face freezes, covered in tears and dirt. Bai Wu embraces the monster clinging to him. Tears continue to stream down its face. Then they pull away from each other, and each goes their separate way. The fallen one returns to his spider head and summons numerous huge hands from within his body. With tears in his eyes, he breathes heavily, throwing his head back. And these clawed hands attack, but they attack his own body. The squad freezes, unable to believe their eyes. Suicide. Bai Wu walks away from the self-destructing fallen one as the system's voice announces, Ilya successfully eliminated. Talent number 76 acquired. Taoism. By absorbing the enemy, you will receive a portion of his characteristics. Dead flesh oozes slime and crimson, but the system stops Bai Wu. Allow me to also say that the key is inside him. You must retrieve it before entering the third building. Once again, only Lin dares to voice questions as Bai Wu returns to them. Hey, wait a minute. What the heck is going on? Why did he commit suicide? What's this perfect plan? And who even is this master? Even the captain is bewildered. Any dialogue must be based on facts. When did you get the necessary information? But he just waves his hands, shaking his head. I already said that I will explain everything only once. In the future, just trust my words and don't ask any questions. Since we are on the same team, We must trust each other. Wang Shi is glad about the outcome of the battle. It's the first time I've seen a fallen one commit suicide. That's something new. Shengyi suggests, could that be why the fallen ones we encountered earlier were just ordinary predators? And Lin seems to teach him, don't treat the fallen one as a human being. This is the lesson of countless raids conducted in the tower over the past 700 years. Bai Wu simply repeats mentally, don't treat the fallen one as a human being. And even gives an order pointing to the corpse. Brother Wang, the key is in the fallen one's abdomen. I think you are perfectly suited for this job. But the sturdy man hides behind Lin's back, displeased. No, no, no. Bai Wu, you're new here and don't know anything. This job is just for him. Lin reaches under his jacket and pulls out a whole set of cutting tools. The system notes, so many butchering knives. It's an art form. Don't think chainsaws will be enough, unless you like blood fountains. He takes one of the knives and begins to work right on the spider head under the system's commentary. These tools allow you to dissect the corpse so delicately as if you were a professional chef in the kitchen. But our Rapunzel is a little, unlucky. These knives aren't Jalen. Ha 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 ha. The flesh slowly yields. Let's return to the key that will help us move to the next level. You must be curious. Do all doors in this world necessarily need keys? Use your brain and you'll find the answer. Bai Wu mentally clarifies, what do you mean? The system replies, friendly reminder, the events in this hospital occurred before the age of the tower. Bai Wu covers his face with his hand, the age of the tower. Right, before its arrival, the outside world was different. Then the hospital was still a hospital, but now it's just another location beyond the walls. His gaze falls on the squad. Once Wu Jiu said that locations cannot be destroyed, it seems that the world outside the tower is subject to some strict rules, and then he looks up at the shattered ceiling. That's why buildings and sewers still exist in the city after 700 years. That's why the fallen ones in this hospital haven't destroyed it even after so long. And that's why some doors in this world cannot be opened by force. You need a key. The system notifies, bingo, there is cloth on the knife. And Lin's voice, done, finally finished. Lin thoroughly wipes the knife next to the dismembered body. The system's voice is pleased with his work. Wow, I recognize Sister Lin from another side. It's just like those cases with the perverted artist you saw before. On one of Lin's fingers hangs a key. The key is with me, let's go. The air passage of the second building. They walk along a new, dirty corridor. According to Liu Mu, nothing has been heard about the owner of 75th Talent since he was taken to the 6th floor. Tao, which I recently acquired, that's the 76th Talent, and I still have 24th. He walks slightly behind everyone. It seems better not to tell anyone about this. The captain notices the guy's silence. What happened, Bai Wu? What are you thinking about? But he wasn't embarrassed by the question. Just curious. Why don't the fallen leave this building? If we can enter here whenever we want, they shouldn't have problems with leaving either. However, Uchu doesn't give a specific answer. Nobody knows. At least modern research does not mention large-scale migrations of the fallen from one zone to another. We can temporarily consider this as some kind of attachment. These words make Bai Wu think again. Attachment? That explains why Ilya didn't leave. So the location cannot be destroyed, and the creatures inside are unable to change it. Freezing before the door, the captain finishes. But since this attachment is not supported by evidence, it cannot be considered a strict law. When investigating outside the tower, you must be very careful with such conclusions. Shang immediately analyzes the space behind the door. Captain, I feel it's in the third building. It seems there are no fallen around. We can safely move on. But right before entering, the captain turns to Bai Wu. What do you think? He stares at the door while the system provides him with data. People were only here in all of the hospital buildings, but they are all dead. They left behind only a pile of boring records. However, soon the guy's interest grows. I must warn you, the poor girl noticed you and left some clues in the third building. You've already acquired a talent so you can go. At least that way you won't die. Or, are you planning to go even further? Just don't choose that. But Bai Wu has already decided. Open the door. The system is indignant. Hey! Lin reaches for the doorknob, and with one sharp movement he throws open the door. The squad passes by a sign saying, Entrance prohibited. A voice immediately warns, I asked you not to choose this. It clearly says, Entry, good, prohibited, welcome. I hope you, as educated and decent adults, will follow the rules. Hey, brother, no, don't. Amidst the system's complaints, they cross the kitchen area. It seems you are firm in your actions. Help! Why did I meet such a blockhead? Ugh. And he dragged me into this too. Bai-Wu silently walks forward, continuing to listen. This is the first choice the poor girl left for you here. The building is literally overflowing with her grievances. Don't think it's as trivial as in the first building. Everyone stops at the elevator. Hey, it works! And the voice gives a new clue. I can suggest, go to the 3rd floor first, and then everything depends on you. Watch your friends. If you get lost on this floor, you won't be able to return. Everyone enters the elevator. Bai-Wu goes in last. Uchu is strong enough, but we need a teleportation disc to return. If it's not there, we will naturally get stuck here. Now the poor girl can't get out of the 4th building. I think I understand her tricks. He presses the button for the 3rd floor. The team immediately notices this and starts asking about the strange choice. 3rd floor? Why exactly that one? Only one phrase sounds in response. There are clues on that floor. Now the captain looks at him suspiciously. You can't come to such a conclusion through simple reasoning. It seems you've been here before. Bai-Wu, I need explanations. He lazily lowers his head. Ugh, I hate explaining things. But still he raises his eyes to Uchu. Since the captain sincerely asked, very well. I'll tell you. When we were on the 11th floor of the 1st building, you heard the call of a fallen that affected your emotions. I went looking for the source and entered that corner room. The captain remembered that door and immediately asked, It was that room, but why did you decide that the source was there? The guy points to his watch. Perhaps because my emotions are at 0. I heard a voice completely different from the one you heard. Everyone is outraged by such indicators. Damn, 0. He really is something. Only the captain continues the interrogation. And what did you find there? Then Bai-Wu shows 3 fingers. A task with 3 answer options, key, diary, and comb. I heard the voice of a fallen, and I had to choose 2 things out of 3. I chose the diary and the comb. Lin immediately bombards him with questions. Why not the key? And why couldn't you take everything? But he immediately interrupts her, shaking his index finger negatively. It won't work. As soon as you make a choice, the rest disappears. And I didn't take the key because it fits some specific lock. Everything locked outside the tower, whether good or bad, carries a threat. Then the captain concludes, So everything you learned later was written in the diary? Bai-Wu nods. Yes, there was a lot of useful information there. For example, the layout of the 2nd building and some details about the 3rd building. That's why I knew what to talk about with Ilya. I read it all in the diary. Uchu became interested. And where is he now? But Bai-Wu just shrugs. Phew, gone. As soon as I finished reading, he just vanished. Only the comb remained, but it will also disappear after completing the mission. Lin approaches closer. Wait, you were in that room for a very short time. Did you really remember everything? In response, the guy smiles sweetly. Well, yes. If I remember correctly, our team is considered elite. Isn't photographic memory normal for people like us? After these words, everyone present felt somewhat depressed. The elevator stops on the 3rd floor. The squad exits into the corridor. The captain continues questioning, What else was in that diary? Bai-Wu replies, The clue is on the 3rd floor, so let's start searching from here. Follow me and don't fall behind. The captain freezes, And that's it? Before them stretches a corridor with chairs along the sides. The tiles on the floor are intact. Of course, there is other information, but I will share it when the time comes to use it. Bai-Wu turns to his comrades. In addition, the entire squad expectantly looks at him. Everyone in the team should have their position and fulfill their duties. He points to his eye. My position is eyes, that is, an observer, so don't doubt my words. Everyone freezes, listening to his speech. Explaining everything is good, but it's not suitable for a team where people trust each other with their lives. If we let go of doubts, we will become much more effective. Yinchang suddenly stops. She hears a voice. You came to me? I'm behind you, sister. I miss you so much. This makes her sharply turn around. Who's there? But in front of her are only the closed doors of the elevator. She turns away, realizing there's no one there. An illusion, perhaps? But when she opens her eyes again, she freezes in horror. The corridor before her is completely empty. Captain, where are you? The girl looks around and a creeping voice sounds again. He, sister. Dark masses begin to envelop her body. You've come to play with me? She falls into shock. I can't move? In terror, she clutches at her throat. I can't breathe. I can't. Her eyelids slowly grow heavy. Sleep. Save me. Suddenly, someone touches her shoulder. It is the captain who brings her to her senses. Calm down. Yin Shuang covers her mouth with her hand in fright. She turns to him excitedly. Captain? I heard something. He soothes her without removing his hand. Take a deep breath, Yin Shuang. There are no sounds here. Suppress your emotions. The captain immediately warns the others. If you hear any voice, report it immediately. It might be a mental attack, but many are already uneasy. Only Bai Wu remains calm. The captain is right. This place is adjacent to the lair of the fallen. They have plenty of tricks up their sleeves and aren't limited to brute force like in the first building. He finds a door to an archive filled with bookshelves. Although this is an archival room, don't read anything. Otherwise, patient data will be uploaded into your memory, and you will experience their suffering firsthand. Everyone follows him inside. Wang Shi looks around. So, this building is the most dangerous. If not for the information Bai Wu obtained, we would have started reading all of this. While Bai Wu examines the surroundings, the system is already conducting an analysis. There are many experiments on the fallen described here, but it's better not to open them. The poor girl added some material to these books. While browsing the archives, you will feel all the pain of the test subjects. Don't you think she misused her powers? Books written in human blood. Japanese horror fans would appreciate that. 1 in 10,000. The captain approaches him. Should we study these documents? The answer comes immediately. This is also part of history. Although they are only local studies, the hospital thoroughly studied the fallen. He carefully examines the shelf. Even if the origin of the fallen isn't indicated here, the records may contain results of experiments on some special individuals. Sheng Yi is confused. What should we do? The diary says that there's a clue on the 3rd floor, but we can't read anything. Lin puts his hand on his shoulder. Only the bravest, most heartless and fearless person can study these medical records. It seems someone was recently boasting about their zero indicator. Who could it be? Bai Wu takes one of the notebooks. Just stand here and don't move. Turning around, he gives final instructions. I will study the archives. If you hear any noise, be on your guard and remain as calm as possible. He opens the notebook and begins to read. July 7th, 2025. There was a slight hitch in the experiment exchanging serum between Ding Ju and Yu Liu. Dr. Liu and I decided to secretly ask for help. Something begins to manifest above his head. As if from the depths of memory, a medical lamp appears. Although the director strictly forbade contacting that person, we all know he progressed much further in studying the fallen than us. The lamp shines brighter. But first, I need to strengthen Ding Ju a little so that man will look at me with admiration. A man in a coat, cap, gloves, and glasses prepares an injection. Before him, on a couch, lies a young man. With a syringe in his hands, he approaches the patient. The needle enters the vein, the memory of the test subject. Then he shines a flashlight into the patient's slightly open eye. It's a pity I can't feel the emotions of the fallen. The light falls on the patient's eye. Therefore, the information I can obtain is extremely limited. Before his eyes appears a cell grate with a lock. April 9th, 2025. Before meeting that man, I want to use my formula to give Ding Zi the sense of smell of Binsi. The young man sits in a cage watching the medic. But damn it, the serum provoked the growth of scales. So all my conclusions were wrong. The young man tears at his hands, turning them crimson as he tries to get rid of the growing scales. The mutations of the fallen know no rules. They are uncontrollable. It is still unclear what force drives their transformation. The medic turns away from the prisoner. It seems that Ilya's mutations were caused by the same reasons as these scales. But the young man literally tears them off his skin. Don't do it! What are you doing? Bai Wu seemed to merge with him into one whole. In our country, they pride themselves on having scales. Without them, you won't be able to find a partner. But he continues to torture himself. It is useless to dissuade him. The young man lowers his gaze. It seems my voice cannot be heard in this space. Wang Shi snaps his fingers in front of Bai Wu's face, but he doesn't react. Hey, can you hear me? He spreads his hands. He really can't hear. Lin watches him with interest. Captain, this newcomer is quite curious. Where did you dig him up? Everyone's gaze turns to the frozen Bai Wu. Do you remember that slave from the survival game case? The data on his watch was also at 0. That very game that aristocrats arranged on their own initiative? The interrogation group was just dealing with this investigation. That's right. The gazes of those present are fixed on the young man. He is that very slave. A wave of astonishment runs through the squad. What? Meanwhile, the captain calmly continues his explanations. Moreover, Bai Wu had only been outside the tower for the first time then. Now, it's only his second outing. He remembered the harsh desert lands where the young man wandered. He survived alone in the blue zone, spending 2 whole hours there. And that's a zone of extreme temperatures. Wang Shi can hardly believe his ears. Extreme temperatures, and he lasted 2 hours there the very first time? The captain looks around at them and finishes. To make him die as soon as possible, and to make the game more interesting, they even sent a killer with an order to eliminate Bai Wu. A memory flashes of a fallen attacking the assassin. He was distracted by Bai Wu's words and ended up being ambushed by a monster that smelled his prey. The memory shows the use of teleportation. Then, Bai Wu found a teleportation disc and returned to the tower. It was there I met him. Lin immediately voices his thoughts. Wait, but why didn't the fallen smell this little one before killing the assassin? That's an extreme temperature zone, not at all the same as this rundown hospital. How could an ordinary person withstand that? Yin Shuang picks up on his thought and finishes it. To survive under such conditions while maintaining absolute composure, it seems Bai Wu simply lacks certain emotions. Bai Wu himself is still lost in a daze. That appears to be the most reasonable explanation. Lin actually feels pleased by this turn of events. What difference does it make? The main thing is that this isn't antisocial behavior, which means he could become our perfect weapon. Wang Shi, however, has fallen into deep thought. So, will aristocrats not interfere? Captain, how did you learn about his return location? As far as I remember, the gambling den on the 4th floor searched for a long time but found no leads whatsoever. The captain then reveals some details. A woman contacted me that day and told me something. Everyone freezes, their eyes fixed on Bai Wu. She instructed us to get ahead of the people from the gambling den and save him first. Someone asks again, a woman? Just then the young man comes to his senses. Consciousness is returning? The captain, not noticing that the youth has awakened, continues. This matter is still under investigation, and we don't know all the truth yet. All we know is that this woman is at least an aristocrat from the 3rd floor. When we return to the tower, I will question Bai Wu about it. Lin clicks her tongue in displeasure. What could he possibly know? However, Bai Wu isn't rushing to turn around. Are they discussing me? He quiets down and listens intently. The captain continues to look at his back. It's not just the lack of emotions. That alone isn't enough to survive in an extreme temperature zone. You need to be able to use your surroundings, find your own fighting style. That's what caught my attention about him. Shang smiles approvingly. Exactly. I also realized that Bai Wu, like me, is most interested in the fallen, but Lin immediately interrupts him. Not at all. You're a complete scoundrel who just wants to kill. You use encouragement to suppress fear. But Bai Wu doesn't know fear at all. He is driven by pure interest. Bai Wu continues to pretend that he is still lost in thought. Wang Shi asks a pertinent question. By the way, if that woman returns and demands we hand over Bai Wu, what will we do? The captain merely clicks his tongue sternly. No one dares take my people. A warm smile subtly plays on the young man's lips. The system's voice immediately responds. Ha 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 ha! What a sly one. Already awake and eavesdropping intently. Even these strange guys have their own charm, even if they are ugly. Suddenly, Bai Wu slams his notebook shut with a loud thud. He turns to his companions. Captain, how much time has passed? Wang waves at him. Bai Wu. The captain remains utterly serious. 40 minutes. Well, did you manage to find anything out? The young man raises the notebook slightly. There is something, but it's only minor details. I haven't found any key information yet. He turns back towards the cabinet with records. I will continue reading. Wait a little longer. A memory from the diary comes alive before him once more. February 6th, 2027, Chinese New Year. The plan for limb transformation is almost complete. We are about to move on to the experimentation stage. The boy sits on the floor in a spacious room, bound by 4 long chains. He needs to connect the facts. Hospital records cover the period from 2023 to the beginning of the Tower era. At that time, Fallen were already appearing in Marin and around the city. The hospital studied their mutations, trying to create a controllable monster. The child's neck is constricted by a collar. Monsters in the vicinity of the city are mutating more and more powerfully. We need to hurry. If that man is right, then we have only one year left before the world finally plunges into chaos under the rule of monsters. Several records mention some mysterious being. Apparently, this person had deep knowledge and helped hospital staff solve many problems. Mutations are visible on his altered hands. Is this Ilya's teacher? But that tower? I've never seen the tower he speaks of. The boy's body is tense to the limit. Sweat runs down his face and veins bulge. The tall tower hasn't appeared yet, but Ilya had mentioned it before. So, we are talking about different structures. The tower people live in today is too huge. It couldn't have sprung up out of nowhere. The child still sits on the floor in shackles. Where did the fallen come from? How did people end up in the tower? He raises his head and looks straight ahead. Sigh. For now, it's all just a mystery. There is nothing useful in this document. I'll look at the next one. He gets to his feet and takes a step forward, and behind him a dark shadow seems to gather. The young man's eyes widen with sudden realization. I can't get back? Have they been tracking me? He looks at the hands of the body he currently inhabits. They tremble slightly, and now I am completely immobilized. A child's voice rings out. Why does this scaleless man never find a girlfriend? A girl with long black hair emerges from the shadow and behind him. She is wearing a bright red dress. The young man exhales heavily. I lied. I just didn't want him to suffer so much just because he grew scales. Biwu notes to himself, it seems she heard everything I said while immersing myself in the memories of other fallen. But the girl confidently declares, You're lying. With great effort, he turns his head towards her. Do you think I would lie in such a hopeless situation? My name is Bai Wu, and what's yours? Only a childish cry answers him. You're lying. Bai Wu silently observes her, analyzing her behavior. Sigh. Despite appearing as a small and defenseless girl, an ocean of anger and resentment boils within her. I must find the cause of this fury. He begins to speak aloud, looking at the trembling hands of the monster. Maybe I should pretend to be weak? I'm not lying. Even if it didn't meet expectations, these scales might help him live longer when encountering danger. Since turning into a freak is irreversible, let him at least not be a weakling. And he thinks to himself, if I want to understand the cause of this poor girl's pain, I must become like her myself. He collapses onto the floor before her helplessly. She's just a little girl who people subjected to endless torture. As a result, she turned into a fallen filled with indignation. But the girl simply stands there and stares. Don't be fooled by her appearance. She might be one of those high-level fallen that even the captain would have to fight at full strength. He remembers the mountains of books in the archive. In the third building, all these records draw you into memories because she wanted every reader to feel the pain of the test subjects themselves. He also recalls that choice from 3 items. You left me with a task, a key, a diary, a comb. I chose the last one, but the comb seems to dissolve into thin air. It never existed in the first place, did it? Suddenly, an incredible power begins to press down on him, as it does on everyone else. Bai Wu's body emits a gloomy aura. What's happening? This is Bai Wu. The captain observes him more intently than ever before. It seems the young man has finally gotten to the heart of the matter. The sound of bare children's feet pattering on the floor can be heard. Why did you choose the comb? With calmness in his eyes, Bai Wu replies, Just a hunch. The key might have been for the cage where you were held. The diary could have belonged to hospital staff who caused you all this suffering. The key and diary appear beside the girl. They only awaken the most bitter memories. Of course, it wasn't just a process of elimination. The girl listens to his explanations without interrupting. A comb isn't a torture device. It can't cause pain. Bai Wu remembered the piles of empty syringes on the floor near the cage, whole mountains of syringes. He recalled the camera in the corner of the room, a camera on the wall. He remembered the iron shackles with chains, a sturdy cage and restraints, and finally the comb lying on the table. It clearly stood out from this dreadful environment. His gaze is lowered. Still, it exudes tenderness. Perhaps it wasn't in that terrible room. He pictured the comb gliding through long hair. Maybe someone who truly loved you existed in your childhood. Before his eyes, an image appears. A grandmother lovingly combs a girl's hair against the backdrop of a window with colorful curtains. She cared for you, gently, always being there. The girl smiles and a blush appears on her cheeks. She loved you. Bai Wu and the girl gaze at this warm memory. When people face something they can't hide from or escape, they return to such moments. That's why I thought this object was a symbol of your perseverance. The girl lowers her head. I don't know what you went through, but seeing the patient's memories in those records, I'm sure it was inhuman torment. She clutches the edge of her dress with small hands. You must have been utterly desperate back then. The grandmother from the vision looks at her warmly. You missed the person who combed your hair, but she never came. There were no such people in this hospital, only monsters and people who turned out to be even more cruel than any beasts. The girl's gaze becomes sad as she stares into space. You're lying. A vision from the past freezes before them. Lying. Do you think I just want to survive and am afraid of you? Do you believe everything I said was merely a lie to save myself? Baiwu raises his head. It's unlikely people treat the fallen as he does now. He intentionally avoids looking at her so as not to embarrass her. I don't fear you, nor do I harbor hatred. I didn't come here to kill, but to learn the truth about what happened in the past. After these words, the girl begins to look at him herself. You feel it too, that I am not afraid. Perhaps you don't know, but now people live in a tower, and beyond it, we can barely survive. The girl takes a step forward. But recently I myself was thrown outside the tower. He steps back slightly. The temperature there rose to 70 degrees. I was on the verge of death. Maybe if I had died then, I would have become like you. She heads straight for that warm memory. If you believe I'm just like everyone else and want to kill me, I won't resist. But at least let me die knowing the truth. Before his eyes, the very memory begins to crumble slowly. My name is Bai Wu. May I ask you a few questions? A strange symbol is visible on the back of the girl's neck and her throat. She turns to him. My name is Hong Yin. Receiving the answer he wanted, he smiles. It seems she's slowly starting to trust him. At least she doesn't seem intent on killing him immediately. He examines the pattern on her neck closely. This design, without mincing words, he asks directly, where did you get this pattern? I saw a person with exactly the same one in the second ward. As she turned around, marks under her eyes became visible. So that's how it is? You want to know why I left him alive? And what really happened to the others? He simply nods silently in response, but the girl's face darkens again. You will be frightened of me. Her eyes are full of distrust. I'll prove that all your words are lies. You're deceiving me. You aren't afraid only because you haven't seen my true form. These words elicit a smile on his face. Well then, let's test that. It becomes a challenge. If you're right, I am willing to die. What do you say? She looks at him intently and closes her eyes in resignation. Extending her hand, she summons the memory and directs it straight at him. In an instant, he finds himself in the ward. It's the 11th floor of the first ward. Have they returned here? He sees those syringes on the floor again. It looks like another place. A medical chart appears on a table with the test tubes. The diary, key, and comb have disappeared. This is... He notices a document. Patient records? His hands touch the notebook. It seems that the answers to 4 riddles about the unfortunate soul are hidden here. As soon as he opens it, something bursts forth from the pages. It penetrates him, plunging him into a new memory. A man screams hysterically while several attendants try to restrain him. He cries out in agony, barely able to breathe. September 25th. Uncle Chow was screaming again, and I asked the doctor not to torture him, but he just asked who that was. And then I remembered that Uncle Chow was no longer alive. From her chamber, the girl watched his suffering. The staff no longer recognized Uncle Chow's name. He was now called Yi Wu. A thin, weak hand of the man gripped the edge of her dress. He began to beg for help. She stood by his bed, and although his voice grew fainter and fainter, I clearly heard, Uncle Chow pleaded to be taken from there. Bai Wu observes this memory. My heart aches with pity for him. The girl's face expresses pain and regret. September 27th. Today, I learned some news. She sees 2 medics outside the window. The patient from the second building who lived on the 3rd floor lost control and ultimately became a fallen. A fallen. Now Uncle Chow doesn't even have the name Bai Wu anymore. The girl sits up in bed, drawing her knees to her chest. He's just the fallen now. Raising her hand, she anxiously notices a dark spot on it. Blackness appears on her skin, and a tiny crack forms on her forehead. The doctor doesn't understand why this is happening, and neither do I. Bai Wu sees a small, dejected girl in front of her in the bed. I'm just very sad that Uncle Chow is gone. He won't be able to tell me stories about his daughter anymore. Light streams through the slightly open door into the dark room. October 4th. I saw Xiaoan again. He huddled in the corner of the black room I prepared for him. In the corner before her, a small boy sits curled up. He's wearing a white t-shirt and striped pants. I promised to leave him a colorful room. The girl thoughtfully lowers her gaze. But I'm about to forget. It seems there are only 3 colors left in my world. She looks at the boy, but doesn't see the former colors anymore. black, white, red. Xiao told me his bones, like thorns, pierced through his body. He is a monster now, too. Tears well up in the little girl's eyes. I don't see the old Xiao anymore. I want to tell him, don't be afraid, it's okay. Big sister will protect you. Now the boy no longer sits in the corner but stands directly before her. October 5th. I saw Xiao again. He came to say goodbye and begged me to take him too. The little boy smiles at her. His smile in this black room is truly beautiful. Doctors surround her, lying in bed and crying. I feel so bad, it's so unbearable. She cries nonstop. The doctor decided it was nervous excitement. The doctor gives her an injection into her vein. He administered a tranquilizer to her. Bandaged up, she sits on the bed. The spots on her hands have grown even larger. After lunch, I overheard the doctors talking. Ding Shi turned into a fallen and completely lost his mind. Her gaze seems lost. Black spots on my hands are growing again, and another crack has appeared on my forehead. Blue sky and green meadow. A girl and a boy sit on fresh grass. October 14th. Jilu doesn't want to stay here anymore either. Although we meet, he can no longer speak. The young man barely resembles a human. Wolf ears are visible on his head, and his whole body is covered with scars and wounds. He has to fight the fallen upstairs every day. The little girl's palm rests on his head. Each time we meet, I notice new marks on him. Poor Jilu, let me take you away from here. He feels her sympathy. If we never see each other again, I will miss you very much. Footsteps echo in the hallway. October 15th, the doctors are in a panic. They don't understand why more and more test subjects suddenly lose their minds. Ji Lu, or Jia Air, as they call him, has finally turned into a fallen. The girl sits on the bed, her wrists now completely blackened. She clutches her head with her hands while chaos reigns outside the window. Although Jilu always considered himself useless, I know. He is the strongest in the second building. In despair, she falls onto the bed. I miss him so much. Will he come to me in my dreams? The spots on her skin continue to grow, and her hands are now half coal black. Baiwu watches this. My forehead. It hurts so much. His gaze becomes intense. It seems an eye is forming there. A horrifying eye with a blood-red pupil peeks out from under the bandages on the girl's head. October 19th, October 20th, October 22nd. What she sees makes Baiwu think. It appears that all test subjects who have become half human, half fallen, are losing their minds en masse. They've turned into monsters driven only by primal desires. And it's all... His gaze freezes on the little girl sitting in the corner, covering her face with her hands. In the end, everything is connected to her. Before her appear 3 images of those people. Each test subject, before finally becoming a fallen, met her in their dreams. The girl wipes away her tears. No, it would be more accurate to say they already knew Hong Yin. In her dreams, she used her powers to create a refuge for these unfortunate souls, the only peaceful place in their lives. She reaches out to them, but her abilities are not limitless. The comfort she gave was too little to save their lives. The silhouettes fade before her, like smoke. Life without hope turns into endless torment, and the test subjects began to give up. Then these images sink into her palm. At that moment, she started taking them, absorbing other people's grievances and taking on their suffering. The price was that the test subjects ultimately lost their will. Her hands absorbed the golden glow of the silhouettes. She preserved the memory of them all before they stopped fighting. Beiwu looks at the notebook in her hands with a special warmth. She saved their memories. The girl lowers her gaze to the floor, weeping silently. Camera in the room. August 9th. I can't look in the mirror. Her face is already covered with black spots, and her eye has turned crimson. She sits in a cage, because I've already become a dark monster whose body is dotted with eyes. I don't regret it. I just wanted to protect them. It's no longer a child, but a shapeless dark substance with many eyes. But I think I won't last much longer either. Who will take me home? Her hair falls out, covering the floor before her. The fallen are losing their minds, and my hair is starting to fall out too. Will I soon become one of them? From the cage, she watches the doctors. So many times I ask them to comb my hair like Grandma used to, but they just ignore me, looking at the girl as a true monster. The dark substance increasingly engulfs the distraught little girl. Ah, I'm a monster. I'm a monster. A tear of pain rolls from the horrifying eye. A monster that no one loves. The substance begins to scream hysterically. August 10th. No one will leave here. Countless voices in her head are screaming furiously. Now it's a terrifying creature with an iron collar around its neck. The voices tell her to lock this place up tightly and deal with everyone. I'm a monster. We're all monsters. The restraining chain snaps with a crack. Those who created us. Then who are they themselves? The bars of the cage easily give way under her force and break. She attacks the staff. August 11th, the doctors beg for help, desperately trying to contact the outside world. But you can't enter here from the outside, and no one can get out of here. The creature smoothly slides down the hallway, knocking people down one after another. Cages and chains can no longer hold me, so I'm going to have some fun. I want to play a game with the doctors. She penetrates under the ceiling of the building. I used to love playing hide and seek with Grandma, and now they're all hiding from me. How wonderful I finally felt such understanding with the staff. Her eyes are everywhere, watching everyone. Come out and play. Come out and play. She finds one of the doctors near a closed elevator. He's frozen in terror, pressed against the doors. August 15th. What have I become? Why does everyone who sees me start screaming and sobbing hysterically? She is merely a mass of countless crimson eyes. When people cry, their bodies emit an unusual scent. How I long, how I want to. A long tongue licks her lips. Want to devour them. A memory flashes. A battle with the spider-like fallen. August 16th. I met Ilya again. He's very strong, and though he loses to me every time, he never tries to run. He doesn't want me to take him because he's waiting for his teacher. The spider-like monster freezes, confused and angry. Ilya said he would endure any torment, just to see his mentor again. I envy him. I wish someone was waiting for me outside, too. She remembers her grandmother. She was the only one who loved me. But I know my grandmother is no longer alive. The girl easily holds his hands. I hope Ilya can wait. I shared some of my power with him. Even now she looks at him with deep regret and cries. Though he's so persistent, it seems that because of her, the teacher has disowned him. Forgive me, Ilya. Forgive me. Another staff member disappears into her dark abyss. August 20th. More and more doctors. Despair forces them to emit an even stronger scent. Some of them perish, while others become part of us. Before her, all those test subjects seem to reappear. I must devour them, the voices in her head relentlessly repeat. Uncle Chow, Xiao An, Ji Lu. They scream, forcing her to unleash all her fury on the doctors. The girl's soul is enveloped by this horrifying, many-eyed substance. But I don't want to. I just want to play with them. I don't want them to die. But everyone fears me because I'm a hideous monster. Yes, everyone hates such a creature. She wanders the hospital corridors, but I don't hate you. I just wanders and searches, want to play with you. Having finished reading, Bai Wu closes the notebook. So that's what it is. And now, standing beside him isn't a little girl in a dress, but that creature. Now he understands why the Eye of Prey called Hong Yin a poor thing. The girl, in her current true form, looks at him with a smile. This poor child has absorbed the grievances and suffering of every test subject and every hospital employee. Even having mutated to such an extent, she remains a kind-hearted child. Even when encountering doctors who caused her so much pain, she doesn't truly desire their death deep down. It's a shame that the Eye of Prey can't see that. As the young man sympathizes with what he has seen, a voice rings out, "Oh dearie, be reasonable, will you? Look at this. I'm completely overwhelmed." Bai Wu opens his eyes, finally hearing him. The suppression of thoughts in the poor girl is too strong. I'll disappear again soon, so make use of the opportunity and observe. The countdown has begun. Bai Wu directs his gaze towards her. This gives the system an opportunity to conduct an analysis. Fallen level 9. Mutation, mental power times 12. Rare mutations. Hatred seal, hatred transformation. Perfect mutation, hatred amplification. Congratulations, you've seen the poor girl. I can't explain what a level 9 fallen is to you, especially since you are already within range of her attack. The system continues speaking while the young man averts his gaze from the creature, specifically to offer advice. Don't try to defeat her. She, like the little one, loves competitions. But I can suggest 3 options. Fall to your knees, drop to your knees, or prostrate yourself. This is the last thing the voice manages to say, suppressed it again. Meanwhile, in the real world, everyone watches Bai Wu, frozen with the notebook in his hands. Lin begins to worry. How much time has passed already? What's he doing there? Why hasn't he reacted yet? But the captain is thinking about something else. Monitor emotions. It will be 4 hours since we left the tower soon. 1 minute remains. Wang Shi immediately looks at his watch. Yes, that is to say, the numbers on the clock freeze at a steady mark. Inchuan feels it first. My legs, they feel like lead. Interference outside the tower. Slowing down. Wang Shi's hands tremble. I have no strength left. Interference outside the tower. Attack reduction. Lin has completely lost heart and is practically sprawled on the floor. Oh, this endless river of sorrow. Interference outside the tower. Negative thinking. Shang waves his hands in horror before him. Captain, I can't see. Interference outside the tower. Loss of vision. The captain analyzes the penalties received. Usually, outside the tower, a person receives 1 debuff every 4 hours, but grief and blindness only manifest on the 3rd or 4th day. And this pair was lucky enough to get them right away. He glances at his watch. His own interference, rage burst. The amplification of attack and speed for fallen nearby doesn't seem critical. It's easy to cope with. The captain begins to give instructions. Lin Wuzuo, Shang Xiaoyi, you two are just a burden now. Return to the tower. Lin looks at him through tears. Captain, I've been in the unit for so many years, yet I'm forced to leave before the rookies. I guess I really am not fit for this job. Everyone feels awkward because of his lamentations. Right now, I keenly feel this gap between people and sink into it like ice water. Sorry for being such a mess. If I had known earlier, this is starting to irritate the captain. Get out of here, now! Shang gropes for Lin and reaches into his jacket for a teleportation disc. Then, Captain, take care. Old man Lin and I are returning. The teleportation disc is already in his hand, and they disappear. Wang Shi wonders, Captain, we can still hold on, but what about Bai Wu? The girl listens anxiously. As long as he's stuck there, no one knows what restriction has been placed upon him. A dark aura begins to spread through the room. Everyone notices this, and anxiety grows. What is that? Something's wrong with the documents in the cabinets. The captain instantly gives the order, Everyone, close ranks around Bai Wu. The others freeze beside him as a vortex of dark energy swirls above them. Prepare for battle. Dark clumps dart around. Keep your eyes peeled. Protect Bai Wu. Right in front of Wang Shi, a fallen appears. Without hesitation, he delivers a crushing blow. But upon closer inspection, he freezes. Before him is an exact copy of the monster from the first floor. The same fallen that the captain previously defeated. He looks at the other enemies and concludes, not just this one, we've all seen them before. I fear a high-level opponent has hidden here, mimicking those fallen. He turns to the captain. Even if it's just an imitation, everything is happening too quickly. Captain, it's because of your rage burst. A swift strike descended upon the fallen one, like a flash of crimson lightning. With a single precise movement, he crushes his enemy. The sight sends shivers down my spine. I knew Captain was incredibly strong, but to this extent, I hope he didn't think I was just hiding behind him. Using the interference, he steps forcefully onto the shapeless substance, pinning it to the ground. A sharp order rings out, Protect Bai Wu, I will deal with these fallen ones myself. The fighters nod, yes. The monster's clawed paw is already poised for attack. It seems Bai Wu, this guy. But the captain is faster. Indeed, he found something incredible. Bai Wu abruptly opens his eyes. Before him lies an endless array of doors. Is this all? He looks around, doors. The system's voice sounds again. Oh dear, I finally managed to calibrate, but I won't be able to hold on for long. The young man tries to move his arm, but it feels as if it is in multiple dimensions at once. This is the so-called main hall, where each door leads to a space of memories from documents. Right? 4 hours have already passed, and the external interference of the tower has caused confusion. The system assesses the damage. Orientation distorted by 65 degrees. Such a debuff will be a serious hindrance. However, the young man doesn't see this as a problem. 65 degrees is nothing. He just needs to calculate the angle relative to his previous direction. He freezes amidst the swirling vortex of doors, listening for the voice. Ho! Still putting up a fight? Well, there's one little task. There are over 100 doors here, but only one will return us to reality. He looks around. Oh, we're doomed. Remember, you need to fall to your knees, bow, and prostrate yourself. The young man stops before a door from which eerie eyes stare at him in the darkness. Hey, now. It's time to break this deadlock. He takes a step inside. Before him stands the very fallen one into whom the girl had transformed. He extends a comb towards her. Look, I didn't deceive you. Eyes are fixed on her, and the substance follows behind. I arrived in this world recently and don't view the fallen ones the same way others do. Tears well up in the central eye. Even now, I feel no hatred or fear towards you. The substance above him speaks. You really aren't afraid of me? Baiwu looks at her with sorrow. It's a shame that there was no one to comb your hair, no one to take you away from here. You spent too much time in this hospital, and it's natural for you to think like that. But the world isn't limited to 4 hospital wards, and people are far more complex than the doctors and patients here. The abandoned hospital building. Do you know why those from the tower hate and fear the fallen ones so much? The eye watches him intently, because there is still no research confirming that humans surpass the fallen in their bloodlust. He remembers Ilya. He was one of those who were bossed around by others, taking advantage of his almost religious devotion. The substance takes the comb from him. You are different altogether. The eye looks at him with understanding. You accepted most of the test subjects in this hospital and sincerely considered them your friends. The young man stares directly into that eye. I can't even imagine how much pain and resentment has accumulated within your body. She brings the comb closer. Since you are still capable of maintaining your will, it means you are still a human being, not a monster that everyone hates. Meanwhile, the captain strikes down another fallen one. Wang Xi notices something strange. Captain, the hatred of the fallen, it has dissolved. Only one conclusion can be drawn from this. It seems Bai Wu succeeded. At that moment, the young man continues to support the girl. Don't let them turn you into a monster. The world is vast, and there are still so many places beyond the walls of the hospital that you have never seen. He is reflected in her pupil, and he sees much of what you didn't know yet, kind girl. Now he sees her former self, but She sits on the floor before him. I can't leave this place. He sits beside her and strokes her head. Even if it doesn't work out now, I will definitely find a way to free you. If you are willing to believe me and wait. She looks up at him with hopeful eyes. Really? But voices in her head force her. Kill him. Kill. He wants to hurt you. Covering her ears, she screams at them. It's not true. It's not true. Maybe he can be trusted. He watches these torments of the soul. He isn't afraid of me at all. Bai Wu stands up. Perhaps we are alike in some ways. The girl is surprised. How so? He looks upwards, abandoned in this strange world, knowing nothing about it. He remembers the desert where he opened his eyes. If every journey has a mission, then uncovering all the secrets of the world beyond the tower is mine. He seems to look at himself and his shackled hands. Where did the fallen ones come from? How did the high tower appear? How many floors does it have, and what lies hidden at the very top? Why can't the fallen leave certain zones? Where do talents and their accompanying power come from? In my opinion, all of this is a mystery that would be incredibly interesting to unravel. That's the meaning of my journey. The girl looks at him through tears, and when I find answers to these questions, I will find a way to take you away. She asks only one question, but why? And he smiles at her. You are not alone. He extends a hand, taking on the form of a child. At least from today, you have a friend willing to play with you. And he came from a world beyond the 9th Psychiatric Hospital. She blushes, disbelieving what she hears. A friend? And begins to cry sincerely. Thank you. Rising, she warns her friend of danger. But don't go to the 4th ward, you and your companions. If you get too close to me, you will be in great trouble. She lowers her head guiltily. When you see me next time, I may not be in a clear state of mind, so you need to become even stronger, like that man who is my height. She cries, but with a smile on her face. And then you can come visit me. Embarrassed, Bai Wu smiles back at her. Okay. Bringing his hand to his chest, he makes a vow. Wait for that moment. I will definitely wake you up and play with you again. And once more, her image of the fallen appears before him. No matter what you become. The girl looks at him. Yes, almost forgot. Her gaze is fixed on the comb she created. Before you leave, take a look in the 1st ward. A man came here 2 days ago and left something like that in the 1st ward. Bai Wu listens attentively to her. 1st ward, he remembers passing it with the whole squad. When we were in the 1st ward, the notification about bloodstains and scattered medical records said they had been left there 2 days ago. Could it have been... He thinks of the doctor, the teacher, the one Ilya mentioned, and decides to ask the girl, what else did that man do? What impression did he make on you? She replies, I'm not sure, but that thing looks very much like your device for returning to the tower. She points at him with a finger made of dark substance. This gives him new thoughts. A teleportation disc? Why would he leave a teleportation disc in this hospital? No, it could just be something similar. It's getting more and more interesting. But the guy asks for more. Can you take me there? And the substance dissolves, returning him to reality. Okay. The captain immediately notices the man's return. You took a long time dealing with that document. He sees an empty room in front of him without cabinets. Not only black fog and fallen, even all the papers have disappeared from here. The captain immediately bombards him with questions. What's going on? What did you find? Without a trace of fear, he tells everything he learned. I found a map of a test subject from the 4th Ward. The process has become a little more complicated, so it took longer. But it's better not to go to the 4th Ward. It's very dangerous. Even the captain might not be able to cope with that test subject. Wangsha hardly believes his ears. Hey, don't underestimate the captain. And, gesturing actively, begins to praise him. The commander of the 13th Unit is known as the Shield of the Reconnaissance Corps, and our captain is undoubtedly an unmatched sword. There's no fallen creature he can't handle. Then Bai Wu decides to clarify. I just want to point out that the 4th Ward is much more dangerous than the previous 3. It seems that the entire 9th Psychiatric Hospital was an incubator for the fallen. There were many strong creatures here, but even all of them combined are no match for the one lurking in the 4th Ward. These words make the captain wary. You're so sure, so what was in that document? Bai Wu is already moving forward. It's a memory, I'll tell you on the way. But he freezes in the doorway. By the way, where are Lin Wuzhuo and Sheng Xiaoyi? Wang Shi replies to him, they were unlucky with debuffs. Their interference would have greatly complicated our task, so the captain sent them back to the tower. The girl asks, Bai Wu, what about your debuff? He continues walking. Looks like I got lucky. Confusion isn't the most troublesome debuff. Captain Gu approaches him. It seems you've adapted already. How long did it take? Bai Wu is surprised. Do you need to adapt to this? I just slightly changed a habit, that's all. Wang freezes. Slightly changed? Yin Xuan asks another question. Wait, if we aren't going to the 4th Ward, where are we going then? Without turning around, Bai Wu points his finger upwards. We're going to the first one. We need to pick up something. The medical record mentioned that a man came here and left an item very similar to a teleportation disc. Let's check it out, and then we can return. Wang Shi still decides to clarify the route with the captain. Captain, are we really not going to the 4th Ward? The answer sounds strict. We aren't. They walk down the corridor towards their goal. Even before the era of the tower, fallen creatures began appearing all over the world. To find out the reasons for their appearance and weaknesses, many organizations started conducting research. A gate with a sign, 9th Psychiatric Hospital. The task of this place was to introduce people to the blood serum of the fallen. This is how monsters were created that could torture a person to death. Wang Shu is shocked. They created the fallen? Shouldn't they have been studying their weaknesses? Bai Wu looks around at his companions, continuing to walk ahead. Perhaps this was also part of the research. Or maybe there were other reasons. There's nothing about it in the records. In any case, there is one test subject who almost succeeded, and another who became a full result. Hearing this, Wu Ju concludes, that spider-like creature must be one of them, and receives a short answer, yes. Bai Wu doesn't hide what he learned. The successful specimen is the spider-like Ilya from the 2nd Ward, and the half-successful one is Hong Yin from the 4th. The girl is interested in the fallen girl. Hong Yin? Was that black fog and imitation of the fallen her? But why is she considered only a half-successful test subject if she's stronger than that spider? In Bai Wu's view, she remained a little girl in a monster shell. That's right, but Hong Yin is an unforeseen case. To ease the suffering of other people in this hospital, she absorbed their hatred. And as a result, she herself turned into a fallen creature. He says it with sadness in his eyes. Although she became a fallen creature, her kindness has not disappeared. However, the captain reminds him again of his principles. Fallen creatures are fallen creatures, remember that. His gaze is cold and stern. The nature of the fallen is to devour people. It doesn't matter how unhappy they seem or how kind they were before. As long as there's a drop of this filth in them, they will be eternal enemies of humanity. But the young man isn't going to argue at all. The captain is right. I'll remember those words well. And he thinks about something else. Since there's no way to completely separate the poor girl from bloodlust, we can't consider her one of us and lose our vigilance near her. Suddenly he freezes. Before him appears the spirit of the girl, or rather before all of them, but only Bai Wu can see her. The captain, surprised by his sudden stop, asks, What is it? He hears only a short, "Nothing." But the young man understands. It seems that only he is able to see her. A system voice rings out. A doppelganger, created from altered hatred. She is very dangerous. I suggest 3 options. Fall to your knees, kneel, or prostrate yourself. Huh? Already groveling? Then everything is fine. The girl's spirit walks somewhere. It seems she's a little angry. Is it because of our conversation with Wuju? He leads everyone after the spirit. My miscalculation. It appears the entire hospital is part of her essence. I need to watch my words. Stopping, she points somewhere in the distance. To an open door on the side. Here? The post-operative ward? Baiwu enters inside. Indeed, something lies on the table. Left so carelessly. Apparently, they really wanted someone to find it. Everyone follows, and the captain immediately assesses the item. This looks exactly like a teleportation disc. No, not that one. I've never seen anything like it before. Bai Wu takes the object in his hands, allowing the system to conduct an analysis. A displacement disk. Like with the teleportation disk, it's difficult to explain in a few words, but the secret of their creation has long been lost. Simply put, there are only 7 such items in the world. The item glows in his hand. With its help, you can return to one of the locations, including special ones that you visited during the last 3 days. Consider it an invitation from a certain stranger. An bloodied leaflet appears under his foot. And also, take a look at the notes beneath our feet. That blood-stained leaflet will provide a better explanation. Without picking it up, he directs his gaze to the text. Greetings, researcher. I want to play a game with you. I'm sure you already know about the history of this hospital. But, as far as I know, people haven't stepped into the red zone yet, so you don't know the truth about the source of the fallen in the high tower. I invite you to my game. If you can pass all the zones I have prepared for you, I will answer any questions you have about this world. Take this disc, but don't let anyone from the 6th floor suspect anything. After reading this, he smiles. The owner of the disc left a whole chain of clues. The poor hospital is just the beginning. An invitation, you say? It's getting more and more interesting. His behavior seems strange to Wu Jiu. Bai Wu, what are you smiling about? He turns around with a calm face, showing the disc. Nothing. I'm just glad we can return. Since this isn't a teleportation disc, I'll keep this as a souvenir. After all, it's my first assignment. The captain agrees. Well, since there is nothing more to investigate here, it's time to go back. The girl's spirit silently watches them gather to leave. The captain activates the teleportation disc. Let's go. And one by one they disappear. Bai Wu leaves last. In those final moments, they look at each other. The guy decides to say goodbye. Well, I'm off. We'll see each other again. The spirit waves her hand as the system summarizes the results. Territory exploration degree, 61%. Remaining fallen, 1. Puzzle pieces of doomsday in this zone have been moved and are inaccessible. My assessment, so-so. You just got lucky to meet this poor girl. But remember, you can't always get away with just eloquence, so it's better to gain some combat experience. And he finally disappears. The girl's spirit finds herself back in that cozy room again. She sits, clutching a comb tightly to her chest. A teleportation platform surrounded by pillars. Interference outside the tower. Loss of vision. Eliminated. Interference outside the tower. Negative thinking. Eliminated. Lin gets up from the floor. Thank goodness. Curse it, why did I get such a shameful interference? Shang pats him on the shoulder. Ah ha ha. It was something new at least. A controller rushes towards them. You are from the first unit. Why did you return through the blue stele? The records clearly state that you left through the white one? The soldiers look at the blue pillar. The blue stele. It seems Bai Wu was right. Starting with the 2nd Corps, they really entered the blue zone. The controller carefully examines them. Even if you know this yourself, I must warn you again. Movements are strictly limited. The human body cannot withstand another passage through the stele within 12 hours, so if you want to go out again, you'll have to wait. Lin replies, turning around. We're aware, just waiting for the captain here. Suddenly Bai Wu's voice rings out. Oh? Is this Sister Lin who doesn't get in the way? Although the seniors didn't interfere either, since you retreated much earlier. He says this with a clear smirk, returning along with the others. I understand. It must have been a tactical retreat. But Lin just turns away irritably. Meanwhile, the controller makes a note in his journal. This newbie, he intently studies Bai Wu, who has emerged. He went on his first assignment and stayed outside the tower for more than 4 hours. There are only a handful of such people in the entire reconnaissance corps. The captain gives final instructions. All right, Bai Wu, you have no assignments for the next week. Later we'll go to the reconnaissance corps together to settle one matter, and then you can be free. The guy approaches him. Why won't there be any assignments? The commander turns around. Today's sortie was just an introductory test and you passed it. Now we need to sort out some formalities. And he turns to the other members of the squad. Only after that will you officially become a member of the reconnaissance corps. Then you'll receive your next assignment. But Bai Wu doesn't seem upset. I see, and thinks to himself, I need to do a lot in the tower anyway. After all, it is our place of residence, and the most urgent thing now is to figure out how to earn some money. His smile becomes sly and satisfied. Late at night, the captain sits in his office, thoughtfully spinning a pen in his hand. He reviews the files of the members of his squad. Analytical reports on the combat capabilities of Lin Wuzhou and Wang Shi lie on the table. He continues to spin the pen incessantly, lost in thought, and carefully studies one of the files. Specifically, the analytical report on Bai Wu. Overwhelmed with thoughts, he leans back in his chair and rubs his forehead. His mental state is too stable. It's not like a normal person. I've worked with so many soldiers, but I've never seen anything like this before. If he can always maintain such composure, then perhaps in a few years there will be a second professional of the 8th rank in the reconnaissance corps. He recalls watching the guy throughout the reconnaissance mission. I'm sure that gambling house associated with Bai Wu isn't simple either. Returning to his previous position, he lights a match and burns the report. Looks like I need to prepare myself. He lays a new empty form on the table before him. Right now, he freezes, barely touching the sheet with his pen. I need to conceal Bai Wu's true abilities as much as possible. And he begins filling out a new report on the young man's capabilities. Having finished, he assesses the result, pressing his fingers to his lips. This will do for now. With a light movement, he switches on his earpiece. He makes a call. He receives an immediate response while standing at the window gazing out at the cityscape. Do. Hello, this is a service bureau. The captain immediately identifies himself. It's me, Gu Qingyu. The other side clearly welcomes hearing from him, oh, the celebrated Lord Zhu, but he cuts them off abruptly. Cut it out. The respondent doesn't take offense, however. When you need something, you call me treasure, but when you don't, it's cut it out. With his free hand, Zhu opens the window. I have a long-term assignment for you. Help me protect someone. The voice in the tube becomes interested. Are you seeing someone? But the captain immediately clarifies. He's a member of my team. I'll send you information about him later. A thoughtful is heard in response. He doesn't avert his gaze from the city, continuing the conversation. And also, he's very observant and perceptive, so choose people with some brains. The respondent asks a question while the captain observes Bai Wu walking down the street accompanied by others. Strange. Why not entrust this to the reconnaissance corps? The captain's gaze becomes extremely serious. This is a special case. People from reconnaissance are not suitable for this. A moment of silence hangs in the air before a question is asked. What will I get in return? He turns to the table with the reports. Each time I leave the tower, I'll bring you something. The respondent is clearly pleased with the offer. He has blue hair and an earring in the form of 2 crescents. Deal. Oh my, such conditions from your side are simply amazing. But now, I'm even more interested. The very first questionnaire on the table belongs to Bai Wu. Who is this man you so want to protect? Jianlu Port, Little Chengzi's shop. Bai Wu stops in front of it, widening his eyes. A cry comes from inside. A-Cheng! What's going on here? Who is this guy? I should be asking that. Where did you suddenly come from? A pretty ginger-haired girl answers through tears with a flushed face. Her hair is tied in 2 pigtails with ribbons and she wears glasses with red frames. Jen, listen to me. It's not what it looks like. There's only room in my heart for you. 2 guys are standing in front of her. One of them raises his hand in indignation. You yourself said that you love me, and that there is only me in your heart. Then who is this guy? The other young man looks no less confused. A-Chung, tell me it's not true. The first covers his face with his hand. I save every month, work outside the tower, all so that you can live comfortably. The second clenches his fist to his chest. Why? Why does he claim he's your boyfriend? The first interrupts his rival right in front of the distraught girl. These are my words. Our feelings have always been sincere. She dramatically throws her head back. A Zhen, a Feng, forgive me, I beg you. The girl collapses to the floor with a deeply saddened look. You both are so wonderful, and it's all my fault. But I love you. I love you both. The guys are embarrassed and clearly charmed. I just didn't want to hurt you, so I hid the truth all this time. She takes each of them by the hand. I don't want to break up with either of you. And so all three hold hands. You're like my two wings. Bai Wu freezes in shock, listening to the system's mockery. You're like my two wings. Ha 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 ha. A womanizing schemer. Her words are simply deadly. Maybe I should go inside and cause some chaos. Sometime later, these two, hugging as best friends, leave the store. The voice of the system sounds with curiosity. My God, does this really happen? Is this the charm of a womanizer? Bai Wu enters the shop while the delighted girl powders her cheeks. A smile plays on his face. I came at an inopportune moment, and immediately hears a joyful voice. Wow, brother Bai Wu. Little Chengzi's shop. The owner, Lu Chengzi, sits on the counter with her legs crossed. You arrived even earlier than I expected. Heh, you've made a fool of yourself. The young man approaches her. So, what happened here? Did you mess up? The girl jumps to the floor. No, it's just that these two went too far. They both only think about taking our relationship to the next level. She playfully waves her hand and looks at him intently. Well, since you call yourself a suitor, then court me. And also, and she shows him 2 fingers with bright nail polish. I haven't liked guys like that lately, so I invited them both to get rid of them at once. The system's voice instantly assesses the girl's behavior. Heh. She made me believe in a second there was no heartbreaking scene. I take back my words. It wasn't a fight, but a real disposal. Ha 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 ha. Bai Wu mentally agrees. Indeed. In an instant, she finds herself very close to him. By the way, brother, what brings you here? Don't pay attention to my behavior. I just like guys like you lately. Bai Wu puts his hand in his bag and takes out a camera that has already become a Jilin. Bai Wu stands in front of the shop entrance. He opens the sliding doors and walks inside, slinging his bag over his shoulder. He is greeted by a ginger-haired beauty in a revealing black top with a sheer cloth draped over it. Welcome, the system exclaims. Wow, that's pretty good. The girl sits on the counter with her legs crossed. Feel free to look around. The system continues its assessment. What legs? A day well spent, huh? What? 9 X's, more than 100 in reserve, and now she's having affairs with 2 at once, and lately she likes inexperienced boys. Bai Wu looks around, listening to this report. She's quite the heartbreaker. I dodged a bullet. It's good that I figured it all out right away. Otherwise, such a naive and caring guy like me would quickly fall into her web. Hurry up. You need to buy something and get out of here as soon as possible. The young man studies the display cases. A mug and a rice cooker catch his eye. The voice helps with analysis. Jilin level, 2.5 hours. This mug can instantly boil water and may evolve into a water purifier over time. As for the rice cooker, it has almost no potential. Fallen ones aren't some evil spirits that can be sealed with electric waves. At a price of 139 tazos, it's just junk. He imagined an ordinary rice cooker cooking rice. But if it turns into a Jilin and can turn simple ingredients into exquisite dishes, then the purchase will definitely pay off. The girl watches him curiously, resting her head on her hand. Have you already seen something you like, handsome? The young man taps his finger on the glass of the display case. This rice cooker and that mug, I'll take them. She reluctantly stood up, placing a hand on her hip. Not a bad choice. The mug is really worth it, but the rice cooker is useless. It's displayed here specifically for fools, so I advise you not to buy it. The girl spreads her hands. You don't seem stupid, and I wouldn't want you to be. By the way, my name is Lu Chengji. But Bai Wu repeated, I already said I'm taking both items. The woman immediately understood. Oh, so, you're leaving the tower. He looked at her, thinking, what a quick-witted one, and asked again, how much do I owe you? The girl's gaze became proud and authoritative. I was going to offer a 50% discount, but now I've changed my mind. 1,000 tazos are free. Which will you choose? By the way, this cauldron can only be bought from me on the entire lower floor. The system laughed. Ha ha ha. I'm sure she immediately figured out that you need exactly this rice cooker. Bai Wu casually continued. Can't we stick to the original price? I'm just an ordinary person. Give me a discount. The beautiful woman placed her hand on the display case behind which the item stood. Does an ordinary person buy this cauldron and even ask for a discount after I called it junk? And what century are we living in? Rice cookers haven't been used for a long time. No one needs them unless they turn into Jillins. She moves closer, pointing at it with her finger. And this mug in the tower is also useless, unless you plan to leave it. The young man exhales. She has such sharp eyes. A voice in his head agrees. Exactly. Then he voices his decision. I choose the free option. The girl happily clasps her hands together. Excellent. I'll pack everything up. But he understands that free things always end up costing the most. She puts the rice cooker and mug into a bag and then places a camera on top. Bai Wu notices this. Wait a minute. What's this? The girl giggles. Relax, handsome. You didn't say anything, and I don't know anything. I just carelessly put this camera with your things. While Bai Wu remains silent, the system shows interest in her. Curious, very curious. Now I understand why she's called Casanova. She demonstrates the camera. Heh heh. In a couple of days, you'll accidentally notice it and kindly return it to me because you are an honest person. The system's voice deciphered her plan. With one glance, she understood that you would leave the tower and immediately offered a deal to get you to take her camera outside, not only observant but also knows how to seize the moment. But, interesting, this filmless camera has captured many secrets before it broke. Then he asked directly, what if he doesn't become a Jilin? The system guesses, this girl definitely wants to know what was filmed on this camera too. In response, she just shrugs. Whatever happens, happens. In any case, I already gave you the cauldron and mug. She smiles sweetly at him again, placing her hand on her chest. Handsome, let's start over. My name is Liu Chengji. The young man is already walking away, having slung the bag over his shoulder. This is Bai Wu. The girl cheerfully waves goodbye to him. Brother Bai Wu, I look forward to our cooperation. A sly fox-like glint flashes in her eyes. I'm waiting for good news. And now she looks at the camera she gave him with delight. Has he become a Jilin? So quickly? What effect does he have? What effect? He calmly explains. You mentally name the time, then photograph the desired place and get a snapshot of what was happening there at that very moment. The girl's eyes light up. She covers her mouth with her hands. Really? You're not joking? You definitely aren't lying to me? Hurry, hurry, let me see. She jumps up, trying to snatch the camera, but he holds it high above his head. Wait, let's discuss payment first. Bai Wu looks at her intently. She immediately smiles and brings the tips of her index fingers together. Payment? What kind of payment? Brother Bai Wu, I am a fragile girl, after all. Be lenient, okay? Maybe you'll just give it to me. I will remember what a wonderful person you are. This makes him smirk. Give it away? Do you have any conscience? Where has this ever been seen? Trying to tempt him, she leans closer. Handsome Bai. She wraps her arm around his arm, pressing even closer. But I really don't have any money. If there are no other options, I am willing to be yours. The system can't stay silent. Oh, how girls love to deceive themselves, thinking they look the same in reality as in photos with filters. But we all know that truth doesn't tolerate the pressure. Bai Wu mentally agrees. Spot on. With his cold response, he instantly cools her ardor. Perhaps you misunderstood me. I'm not interested in girls, and you should value yourself more. If you can offer something right now, I'll give you a 50% discount. Disappointed, she adjusts her glasses and mutters, Okay, nothing affects you. But first, I need to see the item. He hands her the camera. As you wish. You set the year, month, day, hours, minutes, and seconds, then say to yourself. She carefully examines the device in her hands. Oh, quite convenient. 10 minutes. Okay, it should be somewhere here. The girl turns with the camera towards the display case. The system's voice sounds with obvious interest. Oops, is this girl trying to film a scene about 2 wings? Hehehe. Well, that should clarify everything. She points the camera at the cash register and takes a picture. Aren't you filming a recycling scene? In response, the girl just smiles playfully, sticking out her tongue. I just want more unhappy people to feel the sweetness of love. Am I doing anything wrong? The system notes. And you can't even argue with that. She has a snapshot of that very event with 2 guys in her hands. Wow, it really does take pictures. Now I'm rich. With burning eyes, she runs past Bai Wu. Can't you find out the whole story by just constantly taking pictures? This Jilin is a real treasure. He watches her, perfectly understanding her train of thought. Right, the camera can be used like that too. By taking one photo after another, you can literally pull the past to the surface. A smile plays on his face as the girl continues shooting enthusiastically, as if collecting puzzle pieces. But suddenly she turns around with a frustrated look and points at the camera. Huh? Why aren't any more pictures appearing? I didn't do anything. It just stopped taking pictures. Baewu explains the limitations to her. Since the Jilin level is low, less than 3 hours, the effectiveness of the artifact is also limited. You can only take 2 photos a week. I already used it once outside the tower, so now you'll have to wait 1 day. She just sighs sadly. So that's how it is. So the girl thoughtfully looks at the camera in her hands. Even if it cannot be used often, it is an indispensable tool for gathering information in the right place. It's a shame that it will be difficult to negotiate a price with this cold and indifferent handsome Bai Wu. She was just about to speak. Brother Bai, But he immediately interrupts her. I agree to barter. She is completely lost by such directness. Ugh! He looks at her intently, his gaze filled with pressure. Don't even try to bargain or somehow lower the price. That will only make you lose points in my eyes. You can offer an equivalent item, information, a service, or all of the above. These words embarrass her even more. A service? I hope it's decent. There are definitely no equivalent artifacts in my shop. Then she decides to approach from another angle. Maybe you'll first tell me what you want. And he immediately asks, What kind of live broadcasts are held in the center of Janlu Port? He remembered the huge advertising screens in the port. Sales through live broadcasts. They say they existed even before the tower appeared. People really like this format. The more authoritative the host, the easier it is for him to gain the trust of the crowd. She continued with a smile, explaining that the effect of popularity is an ancient thing. But with your intelligence, you probably realize that all this is just a scam, right? But this topic seriously hooked him. Of course, I understand that it's a fraud. I just want to know, were the broadcasts completely fake from the beginning? Or did real broadcasts from outside the tower occasionally happen? His words intrigued the girl, and she narrowed her eyes slyly. Oh, do you want to host a broadcast yourself? Leaning on the counter with his arms folded, he said, If I'm not mistaken, broadcasts can't be constantly fake. People aren't that stupid. For every few fakes, there must be at least one real release. Otherwise, the scheme will simply stop working. I want to figure this out. The girl immediately steered the conversation towards business. Oh, should this be considered part of the payment for the camera? He nodded. Yes, tell me more about the actual broadcasts. She stepped closer. You've come to the right person. Let's go. She walked past him, her heels clicking sharply on the floor, gesturing for him to follow. Come into the room. Let's sit down and chat. Teleportation pillars rose above the rocky ground covered with sparse vegetation. Most residents of the lower floors only venture outside the tower under the protection of the reconnaissance corps. In the white zone, they mine ore and blue grass. And although people leave the walls of the tower daily, they are still very unfamiliar with what lies beyond it. The reconnaissance squad's emblem is displayed, a skull engulfed in flames from whose fangs yellow blood oozes. Since these fighters protect areas from the fallen, there aren't many people who have seen the monsters firsthand. Everyone fears these creatures, but you may not realize that at the same time everyone longs to see them. She extends her hands towards him. There's nothing surprising about that. The survival game staged by aristocrats on the 3rd and 4th floors was created precisely for spectacle, to watch the fallen deal with their victims. Bai Wu then decides to add, David Fincher said that every person has a pervert inside them, who also serves as a source of inspiration for creativity. The girl freezes. Who is this David Fincher? But she decides not to dwell on it and sits down on a chair. In general, people really enjoy watching what happens outside the tower. They are fond of exciting, brutal spectacles. They crave to know this vast world beyond the walls. That very colossal tower, towering over hostile lands, it is huge, but in comparison with the world before time began, it seems tiny. For those who dare not go outside, the outer lands are a mythical place. Whether you're rich or poor, an aristocrat or a simple worker, everyone is curious about what's happening there. A stream of people flows back and forth at the entrance to the shop, but they are too afraid to leave the tower on their own. Lowering his head, Bai Wu ponders her words. That's right, colossal interest has created huge demand in the market. The system smirks. Heh heh, and people aren't against risking their lives. Then he asks his first question, why not turn to the Reconnaissance Corps for help with this? Sitting opposite him, she immediately replies, because only the head and 16 unit captains have the right to apply to leave the tower. He mentally agrees, supporting his chin with his hand. It makes sense, as the Reconnaissance Corps is a weapon of the government, and no one wants to lend their sword to merchants. The system voices its opinion. To some extent, this is necessary to maintain order. If state troops turn into private ones, the balance of power will be disrupted. He makes a note for himself. Right. It seems that if I want to leave the tower on my own, I'll have to hide my identity. The girl playfully placed her index finger to her lips and winked. There has always been plenty of people wanting to know what is happening in the outside world. So this fear arose from the desires of thousands of people. Humanity has tried many ways to make technology work outside the tower, but the solution, of course, existed only one. She mentally pictured a camera, Jilin. With these words, she snapped her fingers. Only Jilin items can function outside, but it is said that the process of creating them takes a lot of time. People carried many things out of the tower, but among them, there were hardly any video cameras. But even if so, broadcasting from them live is simply impossible. Before his eyes appeared hands in shackles. 7 years ago, one rich man who spent an entire fortune on taking various artifacts out of the tower acquired a Jilin, handcuffs. At first glance, these were the most ordinary shackles. Bai Wu interrupted her. But actually it's a surveillance device? The girl raised her eyebrows in amazement. Exactly, that's right. You are so quick-witted. He remembered that he himself once wore handcuffs. Looks like I ruined a real treasure then, flashed through his mind. But Bai Wu continued aloud. However, turning into Jilin is a matter of pure luck. How could that man be sure that other shackles would become artifacts? She took a sip from her cup with self-satisfaction. He couldn't. But this time, the lucky one who left the tower brought not just one pair with him. The logic is simple. If the probability of transformation is low, you need to take quantity. And guess what happened? She held up 3 fingers. All 3 pairs turned into Jilin, and each had identical properties. This phenomenon was called Jilin diffusion. Bai Wu froze, clarifying, Jilin diffusion? The girl tried to explain, imagining a warrior with 2 blades. How should I put it? Some wield paired swords, and when the weapon turns into Jilin, both blades are endowed with properties. But such diffusion is an extremely rare phenomenon. This intrigued the guy even more. A phenomenon capable of turning ordinary things into Jilin, so there's a device in the tower somehow connected to the sensor in the handcuffs. But why doesn't the Reconnaissance Corps use such a useful thing? The girl folded her fingers in a ring. It's simple. They can't buy it, because that rich man has no intention of selling the shackles. The young man watched her carefully. Is it just about money? Apparently, this mysterious rich man is an extraordinary personality. She pointed upwards, hinting at the upper floors. That's right. People from the Reconnaissance Corps try to maintain peaceful relations with him. It is said that he may be from the 5th floor, the government level. It seems that the gambling house story is much more complicated than it appears. Bai Wu propped his head up with both hands. Judging by how Uchi behaved, the status of the founder of the gambling house was indeed exceptional. He delved into his thoughts. Who then betrayed me and ordered the Reconnaissance Corps to arrest me? Obviously, this person is no lower in status than an aristocrat. But who would cross the owner of a gambling house for some slave? His gaze became extremely serious. This master must be very powerful. If my identity is revealed, will Uchi be able to protect me? But what's even more important, if I start broadcasting outside the tower, won't I attract the attention of the gambling house? Finally, he said aloud, so that's how it is. So, in order to conduct a real broadcast, you need to definitely reach out to that rich man? Do you have a way to get equipment for streams? She pretended to hold a telephone receiver to her ear. A way will be found. I have one guy who knows a loophole. The system didn't fail to comment on her words. Oh my goodness. Usually people say they have an acquaintance, and this girl directly states that she has a boyfriend. It can't be denied. A strong move. Tapping his finger on the table, Bai Wu began to list, Excellent. I need the following. A Jilin mask capable of changing voice. something in the style of a clown or just a laughing mask. If there is no voice-changing function, then make sure it's at least strong enough. Listening to him, she simply waved her hand. Even though this is streaming equipment, you can't broadcast from my name. You need to get everything yourself and guarantee that no one will trace me. However, the girl interrupted him. Wait a minute. You have too many conditions. There are only problems with you. Before him lies that very camera. It can be used only twice a week, but if you take the device outside the tower, the Jylin level will increase. The higher it is, the more often you can take pictures. Perhaps over time, the camera will even evolve. She freezes, surprisingly listening to his words. If you agree to help, this camera will only be the beginning. In the future, I will help you bring other items out of the tower if something worthwhile comes up. And she immediately shakes his hand with a loud clap. The girl blushed, anticipating an incredibly profitable deal. It's a deal. She proudly straightens up, placing her hand on her chest. I'll get the equipment and guarantee that no one will follow your trail. But on one condition, you become my business partner. You just have to calmly conduct streams, and I'll take care of all the other work. Mentally, she was already counting future profits. If this Bai Wu is really so strong, he will become my constant source of Jilins. Carefree life is already around the corner. You need to grab such a chance with both hands. The guy immediately clarifies, how quickly can you prepare everything? This question instantly returns her from dreams to reality. Do you need it urgently? I think 3 days. He looks at her with satisfaction. Well, I hope for fruitful cooperation. And he thinks to himself, faster than I expected. And so the girl, already armed with a computer, is ready to discuss details. Mutual. So let's talk about the details of the broadcasts. Listen, I have one idea regarding the streams. A dark night and a full white moon high in the sky. Bai Wu stands at the window looking at the displacement disc clenched in his hand in the moonlight. Mysterious symbols shimmer on the artifact framed by a golden ring. He doesn't take his eyes off it, an invitation. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Bai Wu, are you home? A girl knocked again. It's me, Yunshu from the investigation group. The captain sent me for you. I'm coming, he responded, thinking to himself. An investigation team? Has a new case surfaced? He opened the door. What happened? The visitor froze in the doorway. Well, the captain sent us to you. He decided you'd be bored and found some work for you. Embarrassment flickered across her face. And then our supervisor thought you were very talented, so... A voice echoed from the system. Oh, a useless fangirl who's always running errands. Use your head. Look how heavily her chest rises and falls, don't you agree? Okay, he replied briefly, though thoughts swirled in his mind. Just yesterday, he had been promised a week of leave, and today, he was already being called to the investigation team. It seemed like the people from the croupier were starting to move. Bai Wu went outside and closed the door behind him. Let's go. I happen to have a couple of free days, so I'll join your team. The girl immediately began explaining the task. Well, we've accumulated many unsolved cases, and he rubbed the back of his head guiltily as he stood before her. The captain wanted you to be in charge of all these cases. So, there's a lot of work. 7 days definitely won't be enough. The system began to speculate on the captain's motives. Ha. It seems the shorty figured out you were going to desert the tower, but he's clever. He loaded you with work and also keeps you in his sight so he can protect you if anything happens. In response, he simply nodded and started walking forward. I understand, but a voice in his head laughed. He just miscalculated a little because you have the best companion. Turning to the girl, he smiled. No problem. Let's go take a look first. But they will look later. That concludes this manhwa. Rated on a scale of 10. Would you like to hear a continuation? See you in the next video.